My master was the only peak stage Saint Realm powerhouse remaining in this world. I once believed that relying on my master's reputation would guarantee a life of peace and stability. Yet who could have foreseen that a cataclysmic war between humanity and demons would lead to my master's tragic fall? From that day forth, you became the sole master of Wendou Peak. Knowing full well the cruelty of this world, you began to live in seclusion on the peak your master left behind. Day after day, you occupied yourself with mundane tasks, tending to chickens and fishing. Remaining a recluse for a full 1,000 years, you did not step a single foot off Wendou Peak. It was precisely because of this, through consistent daily check-ins, that you forged yourself into a peak-stage quasi-emperor powerhouse. You became the true founding ancestor, the pinnacle of the Xianxia Pavilion. In an era where no great emperors emerge, you are effectively invincible. Regrettably, a bitter smile crossed your lips. If only I had possessed such strength back then, how could my master have perished right before our eyes? Ding, does the host wish to perform today's check-in? You refused, uninterested. However, the refusal was ignored. The system proceeded to check in for the host automatically. Ding, congratulations to the host. Today's check-in is successful. You have received one 9-turn soul-returning pill. Your heart remained completely unmoved. Over the past 1,000 years, the heavenly treasures and miraculous elixirs in your vault have piled up like mountains. Any single one of them is more potent than this. You have been stuck at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm for 100 years, missing only a single opportunity to truly attain the Tao. At this very moment, a white-clad figure appeared behind you. She was a young girl of about 15 or 16 years of age, possessing exquisite features and beauty unrivaled in this world. It was your disciple, Xianxia. She bowed respectfully toward your back, her small face flushed with a faint crimson hue. Is this truly the legendary Saint Master of Xianxia? Xianxia's heart raced like a frightened fawn. Her teacher had said he had only cultivated to the soul transformation realm in 1,000 years, spending his days in idle leisure, yet why was even his silhouette so captivating? What is the matter? You slowly turned your head and asked in a detached tone. So handsome. Xianxia stared, instantly transfixed. Her heart hammered frantically and her breath faltered for a moment. In her eyes, you were no different from an immortal descending from a painting. A single glance was enough to leave her soul spellbound. She struggled to steady her composure, hanging her head in shy embarrassment. Today is the sect's decennial grand recruitment ceremony. My master asked me to inquire if you would be attending. Having said this, she felt only a faint flicker of hope. This holy lord had been in seclusion for 1,000 years. It was unlikely this year would be any different. Unexpectedly, you raised an eyebrow. A recruitment ceremony, you say? You muttered to yourself, it has been 1,000 years. Perhaps it is time to venture out. My master's legacy must have a successor. The Wendou Peak is vast, yet it remains desolate with only you and me. It is indeed too lonely. I understand now, you may withdraw. Xianxia turned back 3 times as she walked away, her heart a mixture of expectation and melancholy. Watching her depart, you slowly raised your hand, preparing to tear through the void and arrive at the mountain gates in a single stride. Yet the very moment you lifted your hand, a golden divine light erupted from within your body, and the laws of heaven and earth began to resonate frantically with you. This is the opportunity for enlightenment. Host, quickly, the opportunity for enlightenment has arrived. Put the recruitment ceremony aside. Reaching the imperial realm is what matters most. The system's voice screamed with agitation inside your mind, and you were stunned at first, followed by immense joy. The bottleneck that had trapped you for a century had loosened at this critical juncture. Without a moment of hesitation, you immediately crossed your legs and sat down, allowing the golden light within your body to erupt and guiding the resonance of heaven and earth. Simultaneously, at the mountain plaza of Nebula Pavilion, the recruitment ceremony had entered its final stage. Of the tens of thousands who had passed through layers of screening, only a few thousand remained. Nebula Pavilion recruits based on appearance first and talent second. To stand in these ranks, everyone was a child of heaven, a true prodigy. Handsome men and beautiful women, Qingmu spirit body, qualified, Wutong acupuncture body, qualified. The voice of the examining elder boomed, high and heroic. On the high platform, head elder Zhao Xuanzi and the other elders looked upon this year's new sprouts, nodding in satisfaction. Excellent, truly excellent. The aptitude of this year's disciples is the best we have seen in 100 years, is it not? Remember that year when we fought over a heaven-born Tao body? You old fool nearly pulled a blade on me. An elder stared, his beard bristling in indignation. You have the nerve to speak of it? If I hadn't stepped away to tend to nature's call midway, would you old geezer have been able to snatch it away from me? Another elder was so furious he leapt to his feet. A beautiful female elder let out a cold hum, causing the temperature in the room to plummet instantly. If it weren't for those shameless scoundrels from the nether sacred land colluding with the 7 other sacred lands to suppress us, would our Xianxia Pavilion have fallen to such a state? As these words were spoken, the elders fell into a heavy silence, their expressions somber. It was true, ever since the former pavilion master passed away, the Xianxia Pavilion has been like a dragon without a head, ruthlessly ostracized by the other sacred lands, and long ago lost the glory of being the premier sacred land of the eastern wasteland. At this very moment, a cold and elegant figure in white flashed into view, bowing to Elder Ziwei. The gathered elders immediately bowed in respect. The newcomer was none other than one of the 7 stars of Xianxia, the Ziwei fairy. She scanned the room and asked indifferently, "Have the elders of all 108 peaks arrived?" Reporting to Marshal Ant 107 have arrived. A female elder in white robes replied. And the Sacred Master? Ziwei narrowed her eyes. The Sacred Master. The elders exchanged bewildered glances, their faces blank. Ziwei was nearly driven to madness by these senile fools. She exasperatedly clarified, the master of Wendou Peak, Gu Chongqing, the little martial ancestor. Only then did everyone realize who she meant. Soon after, an elder replied in a low voice, we have already sent someone to invite him. However, the little martial ancestor has been slothful for years. It is likely he will not attend this year either. Ziwei sighed softly, very well, let him be. The others let out sighs of their own. To have cultivated for a millennium yet possess less power than their own grand disciple was a bitter pill to swallow. This little martial ancestor was truly considered an anomaly in the world of cultivation. Before her words had even faded, a heaven-shaking sword hum suddenly erupted, echoing up to the clouds. What is happening? Everyone turned their heads sharply toward the trial stone pillar in the center of the plaza, where they saw a young girl in white, barely 11 or 12 years old, placing her small hand upon it. A second later, 10,000 feet of golden light surged from her body, piercing the sky. High above, countless phantom swords swirled and roared. The sword cry suppressed the heavens, and the intricate patterns of the sword Dao illuminated the entire Xingyun. A monster of unparalleled talent has emerged. This is the descent of a Dao physique. Look quickly, a peerless sword physique is about to manifest within our nebula pavilion. The elders and Ziwei all sprang to their feet in shock, their faces etched with utter disbelief. Yet, the spectacle was far from over. In the 9 heavens, the winds and clouds underwent a violent transformation. Tens of thousands of phantom images of great emperors appeared. Together they turned toward the young girl, bowing their heads and bending their waists in reverent worship. This cannot be for great emperors to pay homage. This is a divine fetus. A divine fetus has descended. Quickly, inform the pavilion master. The entire nebula pavilion was plunged into an uproar. Ziwei reacted the fastest. Her figure flickered and appeared instantly before the young girl. As her jade hand gently touched the girl's forehead, a sword-shaped sigil shot straight into the heavens. Her voice trembled with excitement. It is the innate sword fetus. A thunderous roar erupted in the minds of every elder present, leaving them breathless and on the verge of collapse. The innate sword fetus ranks third among the 3,000 divine fetuses, surpassed only by the Chaos Dao fetus and the Hongmeng divine fetus. 5 years ago, the manifestation of a 6-star river Dao physique in the Nebula Pavilion had already shaken the eastern wasteland. Now, an eternal and rarely seen innate sword fetus has descended. The young girl at the Nebula Pavilion was clearly frightened by this grand display and hurriedly bowed. Disciple Xianxia pays respects to Fairy Ziwei. Rise quickly, dear child. Ziwei struggled to suppress her agitation. You are called Xianxia? At that moment, above the plaza, 6 snow-clad figures of transcendent grace descended from the sky. They were the remaining 6 members of the Nebula 7 Stars. Following them, another figure, so exquisitely beautiful that the world itself seemed to lose its color, slowly stepped forth. Her appearance was so radiant that even the great emperor phantoms in the sky paled in comparison. Greetings to the pavilion master. Every elder and disciple knelt in unison. The pavilion master of the Nebula Pavilion, Shen Liuli, the foremost beauty of the eastern wasteland and a quasi-emperor powerhouse. She walked directly before Qin Jianji, her voice cold and clear, yet unable to conceal her underlying excitement. Qin Nianji, what a magnificent innate sword fetus. If you are willing, I shall immediately take you as my personal disciple. All resources of this sect shall be yours to command. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire assembly erupted in commotion. The pavilion master was personally taking on a disciple. This girl has ascended to the heavens in a single step. Qin Nianji herself was stunned. She knew this was her only opportunity to avenge her mother, and she seized it. Disciple Qin Nianji. Very well, Nianji. Just as she was about to bow and accept her master, a mocking voice suddenly echoed from the horizon, resounding throughout the heavens. A dignified innate sword fetus actually wants to join a declining nebula pavilion? How truly pathetic and destitute you have become. As the words faded, the heavens were torn asunder by jagged fissures. An elder clad in green robes, his skin withered like aged parchment, stepped forth from the void. His aura surged like a rising tide. It was a powerhouse from the Baigu demon sect. The expressions of Poison Emperor and the Pavilion Master of Star Nebula darkened. Moments later, another figure emerged from the rift. The sect master of the Nether Sacred Land, the Nether-Old Ancestor. The sect master of the Taishu Divine Gate, Xuanhuan. Dao Wuchen of the Absolute Heaven Blade sect, in the blink of an eye, the heads of the 8 great sacred lands and dozens of leaders from first-rate powers arrived. These quasi-emperor experts, whose mere footsteps could cause the entire eastern wasteland to tremble, had gathered here. Their intent was clear without a word. They were here to seize the girl. Ha 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 ha. Kang Wang of the Western Desert strode forward, shouldering his long spear. Shen Liuli, the Star Nebula Pavilion, cannot contain a talent like this girl. Today I am determined to take her. Whoever dares to interfere will be riddled with 10,000 holes from my spear. Disgraceful. The sect master of the Absolute Heaven Blade sect spat out in disgust, his saliva flying. What could someone who plays with a spear possibly understand about the sword? Little girl, come to my blade sect, and my holy great artifact, the Wuken blade, shall be yours. My heavenly Zither King will slaughter 10,000 beasts every day to nourish your cultivation. Do not listen to them. Join my Taishu Divine Gate, and I shall personally appoint you as our divine maiden. The great elders of the eastern wasteland were now squabbling like common merchants at a marketplace, their voices hoarse with greed. The scene spiraled into complete chaos. Silence, the pavilion master of Star Nebula, Shenliuli, erupted in fury, her quasi-emperor pressure exploding outward with a thunderous roar. Do you truly think there is no one left in my Star Nebula pavilion? The nether old ancestor laughed with a sinister mocking tone. Pavilion Master Liuli, that is not the way to speak. The innate sword embryo is a blessing to the entire eastern wasteland. Surely you do not intend to waste such heaven-defying talent by keeping her in this wretched place, which lacks even a single great emperor? The 7 stars of the nebula and the elders trembled with indignation, their fists clenched white, yet they were powerless to retort. This was the 1,000-year-old shame of the Star Nebula Pavilion. Ha 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 ha. Seeing their reaction, the nether-old ancestor grew even more arrogant. Since the fairies have no objections, then this seat shall claim this child. Before his words could even fade, crack! A thunderous roar erupted as if an invisible colossal hand had torn the very firmament asunder, revealing a pitch-black abyss with no visible end. An aura 1,000,000,000 times more terrifying than the collective power of everyone present descended like the collapsing heavens themselves. Heavens! What is the meaning of this? Every master of the sacred lands, including Shenliuli, paled in horror as they gazed up at the sky. Suddenly, streams of auspicious purple energy poured forth from the rift, instantly converging into a galactic river of violet light that spanned the heavens and the earth. Auspicious purple energy, a sign of heavenly fortune. Could this also be the doing of this child? A monstrous talent. She is truly a daughter of the heavenly Tao. While the crowd marveled, an even more terrifying spectacle unfolded within that purple galaxy. 1,000,000. Countless phantoms of great emperors began to manifest, and in a heartbeat, their numbers reached into the millions. Millions of great emperor phantoms simultaneously bowed their heads, offering a solemn tribute toward a single direction. Yet the direction they bowed toward was not Xianxia on the plaza, but rather behind the plaza. It was toward the peak that had remained silent for a millennium, Wendou Peak. At the very moment the entire assembly was shocked into silence, the river of purple energy violently erupted. Like a tidal wave breaching a levee, it surged outward in a mad frenzy in all 4 directions. 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles, in the blink of an eye, 30,000 miles of auspicious purple energy blanketed the entire sky of the Xingyun Pavilion like a velvet tapestry. And it was still spreading wildly. Everyone stood stunned, staring in a daze. Ziwei felt as though his heart were about to leap out of his chest. 30,000 miles of purple energy. What kind of concept is this? At this very moment, a beam of golden light pierced the heavens, erupting without warning from the place where you reside on Wendou Peak. That radiance was incredibly overbearing. Several sect masters could not restrain themselves and surged into the sky. Yet, the moment they touched the light, they were sent plummeting downward like kites with snapped strings. What kind of monster is this, playing at being a god or ghost? With a loud roar, the old man known as the Yuming ancestor of the Yuming sacred land finally could not restrain himself any longer. He shattered a stone pillar, surging forward with the terrifying aura of an immortal quasi-emperor. Like a cannonball, he charged straight toward the golden light. The pavilion master of the Nebula Pavilion, Shenliuli, wore an expression as cold as frost. That was Tao-seeking Peak, the sacred residence of their master. It was also your master's final resting place, and you were still upon its heights. If this old monster's palm strike descended, would Tao-seeking Peak and you not be obliterated into nothingness? Rebuking him, she swept her hand through the air. Bone-chilling frost transformed into a deluge of ice arrows that filled the heavens. Even the surrounding space froze and shattered, layer by layer. They streaked toward the back of the nether ancestor's heart. The clash between 2 quasi-emperors was enough to upend the entire Nebula Pavilion. However, a streak of golden light merely swept past. Like a falling hammer, it instantly suppressed those 2 world-ending powers. Then it simply vanished into the void, as if everything that had occurred was nothing more than a triviality. Then, amidst 10,000 feet of golden radiance, your figure slowly ascended. The brilliance was so blinding that no one could discern your face. Only an outline was visible, yet that majestic and solemn aura commanded absolute authority without a hint of anger. It was as if you were the sole sovereign of this entire world. Surrounding you were 1, 2, 3, exactly 365 spheres of golden energy, orbiting like planets and emitting an aura that made the very soul tremble. 365 drops of great emperor origin essence. Am I seeing things? He is attaining the Tao. The absolute heaven blade sect master's voice trembled as he exerted every ounce of his strength just to keep from falling to his knees. When our sect's ancestor attained the Tao, he condensed only 3 drops of emperor essence, yet it shook the entire eastern wasteland. 365 drops? Is he even human? As these words were uttered, the entire area fell into a deathly silence. Everyone felt as though their very understanding of the world was being trampled into the dust. Since when did our Nebula Pavilion hide such a divine being? The 7th elder, Lu Mengyan, leaned toward Shenliuli, her voice wavering with disbelief. Shenliuli only shook her head. She too was frozen in shock. On Tao-seeking Peak, besides our junior brother who spends his days tending flowers and raising chickens, and who remains in the soul transformation stage after 1,000, who else could there be? Is it truly you? Impossible. It is absolutely impossible. As everyone held their breath in anticipation, the golden light of the great emperor finally began to dissipate. As your figure was fully revealed before their eyes, Time itself seemed to stand still. It was a face that defied all description. Clad in snow-white robes, untainted by a single speck of mundane dust, he possessed the countenance of a fallen god and a face that transcended the mortal realm. His temperament was such that he seemed destined from birth to stand atop the 9 heavens, to be gazed upon with reverence by all living beings. He is so incredibly handsome, I feel my heart fluttering, my very soul is in turmoil. Countless elite female disciples of the Nebula Pavilion felt their hearts race and their breath catch at a single glance, their knees turning weak. Beholding this face, Shen Liuli and the 7 stars of the nebula were collectively frozen in shock. Gu Chang'e, the moment that name was uttered, every elder who still remembered him felt as though they had been struck by lightning, their forms trembling in disbelief. The Holy Lord of the Nebula, the legendary figure born with naturally blocked meridians. Holy Lord, how can this be? Was he not just at the spirit transformation realm? How could he have attained the Tao in the blink of an eye? To become a monstrous great emperor possessing 365 drops of imperial source essence, no less. Back then, I suspected the Supreme Pavilion Master only favored him for his looks. Now I see that I was truly blind, having eyes but failing to see. The scene instantly spiraled out of control as the sect leaders who had come to snatch a disciple, especially the women, found themselves unable to look away. One female powerhouse of the Tao integration realm who had lived for 10,000 years immediately used her techniques to revert her appearance to that of a 14-year-old girl, a shy rosy blush creeping across her face. On the other side, Qin Nianji, shielded by Ziwei, watched you intently with her clear eyes, not daring to blink for even a second, her delicate face flushing a deep crimson. At that precise moment, the roar of a dragon and the cry of a phoenix echoed through the azure clouds. The phantasmal forms of a 5-clawed golden dragon and a rebirth phoenix manifested from the void, spiraling majestically around your body. An auspicious omen of the dragon and phoenix appeared as the imperial light illuminated 30,000 miles. Finally, the 365 drops of imperial source essence transformed into a cascading torrent, thoroughly merging into your physical form. Congratulations, host, on merging 365 drops of imperial source essence. Having successfully ascended to the Tao attainment realm, you slowly opened your eyes. Exhaling a breath of turbid qi, you felt a sense of exhilaration unlike anything you had ever experienced. I never expected that attaining the Tao would be such a cumbersome ordeal. Compared to the past, when I reached the quasi-emperor stage even while sleeping, this is infinitely more difficult. As the host has successfully attained the Tao, you are rewarded with a special physique, the alluring Tao embryo. With the alluring Tao embryo, a single smile from the host has the power to captivate all living beings. Congratulations to the host for achieving the feat. A glance across eternity, a smile to ensnare all souls, granted because the host is simply too perfect. The system has activated the stunning destiny wheel. Once you accumulate 100,000 stunning points, you may perform 10 consecutive draws. Before you could even examine this new feature, an indescribable wicked aura surged through your body. Though your features remain the same, that fatal allure causes everyone present to hold their breath in awe. Looking around, you realize you are standing suspended in midair. Below you lies a massive dense crowd of people. Every single one of them is staring at you as if you were a spectacle. Did you not simply attain the Tao? Is such a grand display truly necessary? The host has stunned the 7 stars of the nebula. Stunning points 1099. The host has stunned the elders of the Nebula Pavilion. Stunning points 2999. The host has stunned everyone in attendance. Sweep completed. You have achieved the feat, stunning the world. So that is how it works. Amused by the system's antics, you regain your focus. Finally, your gaze falls upon Shen Liuli, who is also frozen in a state of absolute shock. You speak in a calm, indifferent tone. Eldest senior sister, is today not the disciple recruitment ceremony? Why are you all staring at me? Is the ceremony already over? As these words left your mouth, the members of the Nebula Pavilion nearly collapsed in collective frustration. Good heavens, brother. You caused such a massive disturbance that you nearly scared us to death. And yet you ask us if it has ended? Who would even think about recruiting disciples at a time like this? But in the next moment, a wave of overwhelming joy surged through their hearts. The Nebula Pavilion has a great emperor once more. Furthermore, one so monstrously powerful that who would dare attempt to seize the heavenly sword embryo now? Haha, the heavens are watching over our nebula. Let us see who dares touch even a single hair on our heads after today. The chief elder, Zhao Xuanzi, was the quickest to react. With a heavy thud, he fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. We respectfully welcome the Holy Lord back from his seclusion. The Holy Lord's ascension to the Emperor realm is truly a blessing for the entire Eastern Wastelands. At this, everyone was left utterly speechless, especially the female disciples of Xingyan Pavilion, who stamped their feet in frustration. How dare this old man snatch away their chance to showcase themselves before the Holy Master? It was utterly detestable. Meanwhile, the leaders of the various factions who had come to poach the girl wore expressions of extreme dismay. Had they not been told that Xingyan Pavilion possessed no great emperor? From which coffin did this old monster crawl out? Most importantly, he had used 365 drops of Emperor Source Essence to attain the Tao right under their very noses. What hope was there left to compete? We merely came to poach a disciple. Did you really need to cheat on such a grand scale? At this moment, the head elder spoke once more. He pointed his finger toward Qin Nianji. With surging fervor, he declared, reporting to the Holy Master, "This young woman possesses an innate sword embryo. We are well aware that we lack the capacity to instruct her properly. Only you, Holy Master, possess the qualifications to accept such a heaven-defying talent as your disciple. Accept this woman as your personal disciple to safeguard the divine prestige of our Xingyun. Having spoken, he cast a provocative glance at the leaders of the 8 great sacred grounds. The corners of his mouth curled into a manic grin, fighting against me? Do you truly believe yourselves worthy? Your gaze subsequently fell upon that delicate figure. As your eyes met, you witnessed a pair of eyes as clear and bright as the stars. Host, this woman is a reincarnated empress, born with an innate sword embryo. She is qualified to be your disciple. The voice of the system resonated at the perfect moment. A reincarnated empress, your heart stirred slightly. It was exactly what you desired. You had just emerged from seclusion to take on a disciple to inherit your legacy. Was this not a case of destiny knocking right at your door? We welcome the Holy Master's emergence from seclusion and implore the Holy Master to accept this woman as his disciple and appoint her as the young Pavilion Master. The elders and disciples of Xingyun Pavilion knelt in unison, their voices shaking the heavens. At this moment, the complexion of the old ancestor of the netherworld had turned from pale to ghastly black. He no longer dared to harbor the slightest thought of poaching the girl. However, in front of so many onlookers, fleeing immediately would be an utter humiliation. He forced a smile that looked far worse than weeping. Bowing to you, he said, this junior, the old ancestor of the netherworld, congratulates the Holy Master of Xingyun on attaining the Tao. As there are matters requiring my attention back at my palace, I shall take my leave. Having said this, he did not look back, tearing through the void and fleeing faster than a rabbit. Where there is one, there will inevitably be a second. We, the juniors of the Tianqin dynasty, pay our respects. Congratulations, Holy Lord, the old broodmare at my home is about to fall. We, the juniors under Elder Xuanhuan of the Great Void Divine Palace, offer our respects. Congratulations, Holy Lord. My wife has an urgent matter that requires my attention. I must depart to catch up with her, until we meet again. We, the juniors of the Western Desert Divine Spear Alliance, offer our respects. Greetings, Holy Lord. My wife misses me dearly, so I must return home to keep her company. In the blink of an eye, the leaders of those factions who had been so arrogant only moments ago had vanished without a trace. Ignoring them entirely, you stepped upon the 5-colored clouds and walked step by step until you stood before Qin Nianji. Your voice was gentle. What is your name? Qin Nianji's small face flushed a deep crimson, so nervous that even her neck turned bright red. She bowed respectfully, saying, this disciple is named Qin Nianji. You offered a soft smile. Qin Nianji, a beautiful name. That smile was like the spring breeze turning into rain. The very heavens seemed to lose their luster. Ah, the Holy Lord smiled at me. He smiled at me. I would spend the rest of my life by his side. Holy Lord, please take me in. I can do anything. Countless female disciples in the crowd lost all composure. Piercing screams erupted one after another. Qin Nianji stared, completely mesmerized. Her eyes filled with adoration, while the smile at the corners of your mouth deepened. Are you willing to join my Wendou Peak and become a disciple of Aigu Changqing? As soon as these words were spoken, the entire assembly erupted into an uproar once more. I am, Qin Yan practically shouted, terrified that you might change your mind as tears of joy escaped her eyes. She felt as though she were caught in a dream. The ceremony is complete, the presiding elder shouted until his voice grew hoarse. Qin Yanji of Jianzhou has joined our Xingyun sects as the personal disciple of the Holy Lord. In an instant, a tide of congratulations roared through the air. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully taking on a disciple. You have been rewarded with a Grand Disciple Acquisition gift pack. Such a stroke of good fortune. Would you like to extract it? Extract. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Emperor-grade Cultivation Manual, Primordial Tao Origin Art. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Saint-grade Sword Manual, Formless Sword Scripture, and Emperor-grade Technique. You were astonished and hurriedly began to examine it. Once the Primordial Tao Origin Technique is comprehended to its peak, it can circulate automatically even while one is asleep. It absorbs the very essence of heaven and earth. Very well, you think to yourself, very well indeed. Is this not a legendary technique for the lazy custom tailored specifically for you? You withdraw your cultivation technique. Now is not the time for such contemplation. You step forward to greet your senior sisters with a smile. Junior brother pays his respects to all senior sisters. Have you managed to select any promising disciples today? You still have the nerve to ask? The third senior sister, Yuewachang, glares at you with irritation. All the best seedlings have been snatched away by you. You hid things from us quite well, didn't you, little one? How were you able to reach the Tao of Enlightenment while simply fishing? You scratch your head, feigning an expression of innocence. Why don't all senior sisters come to my Wendou Peak tomorrow for a visit? I shall take you all fishing. Yuewachang cannot help but let out a soft laugh at your remark. Does that sound like something a human would say? They have endured thousands of years of arduous cultivation, yet the threshold to the quasi-emperor realm remains a distant, unreachable dream. Yet you, through pure laziness, have achieved the status of a great emperor? Seeing that she is genuinely slightly piqued, you hurriedly lean in closer and lower your voice, senior sister, if you do not mind. I shall personally enter the kitchen and prepare a feast for you all. Your proximity is sudden and intimate, causing a radiant flush to bloom upon her porcelain-white cheeks. She quickly raises a hand to block your advance, turning her face away. Fine, I understand. The first senior sister, Shen Liuli, looks at you with a sense of helplessness, yet her eyes are filled with joy. Junior brother, the eyes of our master were truly not mistaken. With a great emperor like you to stand guard, the future of the Xingyun Pavilion is bright indeed. She takes a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the countless factions gathered below to witness the ceremony. Her voice, clear as ice from the 9 heavens, echoing in all directions. Starting from this day, this pavilion master declares, Qin Nianji is the young pavilion master of our Xingyun Pavilion. Whoever our Xingyun Pavilion shall stand eternal and undying. Our fame spans 10,000 miles, none dare defy our command. In the midst of this glorious era for the Xingyun Pavilion, while the world watched, a cold yet arrogant voice suddenly tore through the void. The island master of 7 Profan Island in the South Sea Divine Realm, the Yinju goddess. As the words fell, the eyes of the entire eastern wasteland turned toward the heavens. 7 Profound Island, hearing the name, you furrowed your brow. That is a power from the South Sea separated by an endless starry sky. Why would they come all this way? At that very moment, an ethereal and melodious zither sound pierced the void, resounding directly in your ears. A figure in white descended gracefully onto the Xingyun Pavilion. It was a woman. Her face was veiled in thin silk, but those eyes were transcendently beautiful. As if they contained all the purity of the world, those eyes alone were enough to drive countless men to madness. Your senior sister Liuli and the other senior sister saw her and immediately bowed in reverence. Junior Shen Liuli pays respects to Senior Yinju, the Yinju goddess. Luo Xianyin, an immortal great emperor in the true sense of the title, you understood this in your heart. Luo Xianyin's gaze rested gently upon you, her voice drifting like celestial mist. Xianyin's disciple is indeed extraordinary. With you guarding the Xingyun Pavilion, I can rest easy. The tone was familiar. It seemed she had a deep connection with your master, who had yet to reveal themselves. Immediately after, her gaze shifted to Qin Nianji beside you, the heaven sword vessel and the personal disciple of Xianyin's apprentice. Little girl, your fate is quite extraordinary. Before the words had faded, she reached out with a slender finger and tapped lightly on Qin Nianji's forehead. Drop of great emperor essence, shimmering with golden light, emerged from her fingertip and slowly seeped into Qin Nianji's glabella. Heavens, the great emperor essence, the crowd below instantly erupted, realizing how precious such an object was. Everyone knew that even a quasi-emperor would risk their life to condense only 2 or 3 drops, yet this Yinju goddess had bestowed one without even blinking. The elders of the Xingyun Pavilion were so moved their faces turned red, kneeling in a mass to thank Senior Yinju for her grace. Qin Nianji was slightly bewildered, instinctively looking toward you for guidance. You smiled, accept the senior's kindness. As you command, Master, Qin Nianji finally bowed in gratitude. You were very satisfied. Your own people know how to conduct themselves. Qin Nianji is a reincarnated empress. She could handle such a stroke of fortune. In the future, if she attains the path of the great emperor, the entire Xingyun Pavilion will reap the benefits. However, the matter was not yet over. A vast and silver sword intent blanketed the sky. Luoxian, you are quite quick-handed. I, this old man, do not have anything as exquisite to offer. Little girl Nianji, I gift this azure profound sword to you. The 3 figures of Qingyi appeared alongside the manifestation of the green lotuses, Xiaosa Bukan, the Qingshuan sword saint, and Sutaibai, yet another great emperor. Everyone present, including Luo Xianyin, was once again struck with profound shock. The magnitude of this prestige is unfathomable. Great emperor after great emperor arrives to offer congratulations, but in truth they come to present gifts to your disciple. Before the crowd could recover their senses, a voice, enchanting to the very marrow, tore through the void. Oh, what a truly adorable little girl. The Heihuan sect also wishes to take her as a disciple. A woman in crimson robes descended her gaze as alluring as silk. It was the sect master of the Heihuan sect, Lady Baigu, another great emperor. But when her eyes fell upon you, her tone shifted instantly. No, I have changed my mind. Her eyes glowed with fervor as she stared intensely at you. I only ask that the Holy Master would frequently visit my Heihuan sect to rest and converse. I am willing to teach you anything you desire. Shameless hussy. With a sharp reprimand, another woman in black tore through the void. It was the domineering and arrogant sect master of the Qixia sect. Her eyes were fixed upon you as if she wished to possess you entirely. Lady Baigu, you indecent creature, stay back. Holy Master, the 50 million female disciples of my Qixia sect are all willing to spend the rest of their lives with you. Amitabha. A nun pressed her palms together, looking at you with tear-filled eyes. Buddha above, my Tao heart has shattered. I no longer wish to attain Buddhahood. I only desire to wash your feet for the rest of my days. On the other side, Sutaibai, who had arrived the earliest, found his aged face flushing a deep crimson with desperation. Gritting his teeth in a final gamble, he stammered, if the Holy Lord does not object, this old man is willing to castrate himself and cultivate the sunflower manual just for you. The scene descended into chaos. To avoid being completely devoured by this predatory crowd, the moment the apprenticeship ceremony concluded, you immediately spirited Qin Nianji away to Wendou Peak. You casually cast a powerful barrier, for the situation had become terrifying and utterly out of control. Upon returning to the residence, Qin Nianji curiously observed her new surroundings, a cultivation chamber, a courtyard, and a cold pond. Master, do you usually live here? You nodded and spoke casually. Eating is the Tao, as are fishing and tending to flowers. From now on, you shall practice this Tao of the mortal with me. As soon as the words were spoken, Qin Nianji's entire body trembled. A brilliant light burst from her eyes. It seemed she had reached a state of enlightenment. In the next moment, the aura surrounding her surged violently. She achieved a breakthrough directly from the Foundation Establishment realm to the first stage of the body refining realm. Thank you for your guidance, Master. Filled with both shock and joy, she bowed deeply toward you. On the surface, you remained calm and composed, but internally, you were reeling with shock. Heavens, she actually achieved a breakthrough just like that? Even you couldn't help but feel a hint of envy. It took you 1,000 years of lazy cultivation to become an emperor, yet she achieved a breakthrough after hearing a single sentence. With such talent, you would have swept through the forbidden zones long ago. This is truly a monstrous level of natural ability, but you have grown accustomed to it. The system's voice chimed in at the perfect moment, but you were too indifferent to pay it any mind. Your gaze fell upon Xianxia. A data window appeared. Status: Reincarnated Sword Emperor Beloved Disciple. A seemingly ordinary physique, favorability is rising. Your lips twitched. Was this useless system actually attempting to be poetic? Clearing your throat, you spoke to Xianxia. Cultivation must be taken one step at a time. The foundation is most important. Your disciple understands. I will surely push the body refining realm to its absolute limit. She nodded vigorously. Good, you casually retrieved a jade bottle and handed it to her. This is for you. She took it, her expression filled with confusion. In that instant, dense spiritual energy erupted like a fountain. The concentration of spirit chi across the entire Wendou Peak instantly increased several times over. A few drops of a milky white liquid fell onto her hand. It was crystal clear and pure, emitting a fragrance that refreshed the soul. Immortal nectar, the 9-aperture divine source fluid. Xianxia's small face instantly turned pale with shock. Her mind reeled. This was a supreme treasure used to temper the divine soul. Suddenly, the rims of her eyes reddened. Biting her lip, she turned to look at you, her voice trembling with emotion. Master, why are you so kind to me? From childhood until now, aside from her late mother, no one had ever treated her with such kindness. You were momentarily stunned. Reaching out, you habitually stroked her head and smiled. You are my disciple, are you not? If I do not care for you, then who else should I care for? In this moment, feeling that gentleness reach the depths of her soul, Xianxia's cheeks immediately flushed a deep crimson. With a dazed gaze, she softly murmured, Master, intimacy increased by 5. The intimacy shop has been activated. The system's notification echoed within your mind. You ignored it entirely, even offering a dry jest to the system. Can this be exchanged for a discount? Meanwhile, Xianxia had already seated herself within the frigid pool, the water instantly soaking through her robes. You leaned back against the rocking chair within the pavilion, leisurely eating grapes as you offered her a calm reminder. By the way, Xianxia, although this 9-aperture divine essence liquid is a rare treasure, the process will be agonizing. You must endure it. You recalled when you first used it yourself. That refreshing sensation was, in truth, an eternity of boundless suffering. You worried the young girl would find it unbearable. Within the pool, Xianxia raised her head, her gaze exceptionally resolute. Rest assured, Master. Xianxia does not fear this small amount of pain. You smiled with satisfaction and popped another grape into your mouth. In the next breath, Xianxia swallowed the entire bottle of 9-aperture divine essence liquid in one gulp. A terrifying surge of spiritual energy exploded within her body, causing the entirety of the water in the frigid pool to transform into a massive water dragon, which soared violently into the heavens. Simultaneously, at the Nebula Pavilion's restricted grounds, ha ha ha, I have broken through, I have finally reached the next stage. The bottleneck that imprisoned this old man for 100 years has finally been shattered. 100 years of stagnation, finally broken. The elders, appearing half-frenzied with joy, burst through the roofs of their dwellings and soared into the clouds, their auras shaking the heavens. The disciples at the foot of the mountain watched with mouths agape, filled with immense envy. The auspicious purple chi that descended when the Holy Lord attained the Tao has been entirely snatched up by those old fogies. I want to break through as well. At that moment, a thunderous cry of pure ecstasy erupted from the crowd. Heavens, I have achieved a breakthrough. Everyone turned their gaze toward the source. It was Zhao Chengfeng, the direct disciple of the head elder. He leapt into the air, waving his arms excitedly toward the firmament as he roared, By the gods, the Holy Lord is mighty, the Holy Lord is an eternal God. The moment those words were uttered, the purple chi in the sky seemed to find its vessel, frantically surging into his body. Zhao Chengfeng's entire frame trembled, his face masked in utter disbelief. Heavens, am I about to break through once again? The disciples below were all struck dumb. What in the world is happening? A single shout leads to a breakthrough? Could it truly be because of that mighty Holy Lord proclamation? Indeed, they were under the protection of the Holy Lord. The disciples looked at one another, their gazes gradually becoming fervent. A female disciple's face flushed red as she gathered her courage. In a clear, resonant voice, she cried out, The Holy Lord is mighty. The Holy Lord is our eternal God. Instantly, a vast amount of purple chi poured into her body. Signs of an immediate breakthrough manifested at once. This is incredible. I am also on the verge of a breakthrough. This revelation set the entire scene ablaze with excitement. Heavens, the Holy Lord is mighty. The Holy Lord is our eternal God. Holy Lord, I wish to stay by your side forever. Cheers erupted in succession, shaking the entirety of the Starcloud Pavilion within the Starcloud Hall. Your 7 senior sisters all turned their gazes toward Wendou Peak. After a long silence, one spoke. We have cultivated bitterly for thousands of years, yet we cannot compare to our junior brother, who spent 1,000 years in idleness. The tone of the 4th senior sister Ningxue was filled with bitterness. Say no more, it is far too demoralizing. Second senior sister Lu Mengyan shook her head with a bitter smile. Now that our star cloud pavilion is guarded by a great emperor, and with the descent of the heavenly sword embryo, for the next 100,000 years we need not worry. First senior sister Shen Liuli, your nominal pavilion master, watched on. A flash of resolve flickered within her cold eyes. She looked toward your location, her heart stirred with emotion. You were so lazy, yet you had managed to become an emperor. As the pavilion master, how could she allow herself to fall behind? She issued her command, her voice cold yet brimming with power. From tomorrow this pavilion master shall enter secluded cultivation. If I do not reach the emperor realm, I vow never to emerge. Whatever was happening in the distant heavens, you simply did not care. The birth of a great emperor and the rise of a legacy, to you, these were nothing more than distant noise. At this moment you cared for only one thing, your precious disciple who had just emerged from seclusion before you. Xianxia, this would be your domain 3 days later. At Wendou Peak you had just returned from a stroll in the back mountains, when you sensed a powerful surge of spiritual energy erupting from the cold pond. Water shot up dozens of feet into the air. You raised an eyebrow at the significant commotion. A drenched figure stepped out of the pond, carrying the fearless spirit of a newborn calf that does not fear the tiger. Upon seeing you, Xianxia's eyes brightened instantly. She hurried over and bowed respectfully. This disciple greets master. You observe her, scanning her from head to toe. Your voice carries a hint of lazy surprise. Impressive girl. 108 drops of 9 apertures divine essence liquid. Her eyes curve into the shape of crescent moons as she smiles. I have absorbed it all. I am now at the 5th heaven of the body tempering realm. Thank you, master. If not for you, I wouldn't have known where to even begin my foundation establishment. The corner of your mouth twitches. You are utterly speechless. You recall how a single drop of that liquid once left you bedridden in pain for 3 days, yet this girl drinks it like water and remains full of energy. Is this the monstrous potential of a reincarnated empress combined with an innate sword embryo? No content to translate. At that moment, a voice echoes within your mind. Great host, this disciple of yours is indeed formidable, but she is also a walking time bomb. Your mind wavers. She is a reincarnated empress. Her imperial soul is currently sealed. Once her strength increases and her imperial soul awakens, her cultivation will recover faster than anyone else's. The system pauses briefly, its tone becoming solemn. But because of this, she is the ultimate medicinal treasure in all the world. A single bite would grant a mortal a century of life. If a cultivator were to devour her imperial soul and physical body, it would be equivalent to directly plundering her cultivation and the inheritance of several lifetimes. Do you understand? She is like the flesh of the Tang monk. Hearing this, your heart tightens. Your gaze unconsciously drifts over Xianxia's delicate face. Your throat moves involuntarily as you swallow. She truly is a supreme medicinal treasure. Master, what did you say? Xianxia blinks her large, innocent eyes, looking at you with curiosity. It is nothing. You immediately withdraw your gaze, your expression unchanging. I was just wondering what to eat for lunch. You had nearly spoken your inner thoughts aloud. It seems that until this girl is capable of shattering a sacred land with a single punch, she must never be allowed to roam freely beneath the mountain. The innate sword embryo would merely make the sacred lands envious, but if the truth of a reincarnated empress were revealed, the entire eastern desolation would descend into madness. Xianxia gently rubs her stomach and speaks in a soft voice, Master, where did you go just now? She had been searching for you for a long time. The growling of her stomach was louder than her voice. You let out a chuckle. I went to the coop to catch a hen to nourish your body. Yes, master, you said, casually pointing toward several plants near the chicken coop. That's right, the spirit fruits over there are ripe. Go pick a few fresh ones, specifically the ones that still carry a hint of chill. A short while later, Xianxia entered the kitchen carrying several succulent spirit cucumbers. But when her gaze fell upon the stone table where you had already cleaned the pseudo-hen, that towering demonic chi, those shimmering golden flames, this was no mere pseudo-hen. This was clearly a phoenix beast of the soul transformation realm. Does Master usually feast upon phoenixes as if they were common poultry? Before she could even recover from her shock, your next actions left her even more dazed. The ordinary kitchen knife in your hand began to move. The blade light flowed like water, smooth and fluid, as every stroke precisely butchered the phoenix's carcass. Yet in Xianxia's eyes, every flash of the blade contained a complete manifestation of the Grand Tao's laws. This was blade intent. Her chest tightened as if struck by a heavy blow, and she couldn't help but gasp in shock. According to legend, such a conceptual law could only be fully comprehended by an immortal great emperor. Had you not just broken through to the great emperor realm? How could this be possible? Had you already mastered blade intent even before becoming an emperor? She drew in a sharp breath of cold air, the powerful great emperor covering her own mouth in disbelief. So terrifyingly, this man is my master. You paid no mind to her astonishment, continuing your work as the soup began to simmer in the pot. After an hour had passed, Xianxia regained her composure and asked softly, What shall we do now? You glanced at her. She was drenched from head to toe, her curves fully revealed. Isn't that uncomfortable, you asked? Go take a hot bath first. By the time you finish, the meal will be served. Yes, she murmured, her face flushing crimson as she hurried away. Ding! The host and Xianxia have interacted successfully. Intimacy level increased, the system notification echoed in your mind. A faint smile played at the corners of your lips. An hour later, with a soft creak, the door was pushed open. Xianxia stepped out, having changed into a delicate robe of light silk. Her long black hair was still damp from her bath, glistening with droplets of water. Her exquisite face bore a natural rosy glow, adding a touch of undeniable allure to her presence. You had to admit for a brief moment you were dazed by the sight. My stomach is practically empty. Parting her cherry blossom lips, she spoke with a hint of grievance. At that moment, you finally snapped back to reality and reacted. You quickly brought the dishes out to the stone pavilion. It was a feast of 4 dishes and 1 soup accompanied by several cucumbers, 10,000-year azure dragon tendons, 10,000-year fierce tiger tendon, even a cold ice jade emperor scorpion meticulously prepared. These were all peerless ingredients, the kind that countless cultivators would fight and die for. Xianxia stared in a daze, her heart swirling with profound emotion. She took a deep breath, intending to speak, but instead leaned toward the table to deeply inhale the aroma of the food. In the next breath, her expression froze, and her beautiful eyes widened in utter disbelief. I have gained enlightenment again. What? Even you were stunned. How could she gain enlightenment just from a scent? You immediately swept your divine sense over her to investigate. Indeed, the bottleneck of the 5th stage body refining realm she had just stabilized was already beginning to loosen. Is this even fair to others? I cook every day and smell these aromas constantly, yet why have I never gained such insights? At this moment, Xianxia looked upon you as if you were a god of the culinary Tao. Master has even integrated his own Tao into the simple act of cooking. She understood. She finally understood it all. She immediately bowed with deep respect, her voice trembling as she spoke. Master's great kindness, Xianxia shall engrave it into her very soul. You thought to yourself, but I haven't even given her any pointers yet? Once the meal was finished and the night grew late, you began arranging a room for her. Xianxia suddenly turned around, her eyes sparkling as she asked, Master, what shall we do now that we've finished our meal? Should we begin our nightly cultivation? The elders always said that cultivating through the night leads to rapid progress. You shook your head, a mysterious smile playing on your lips. Cultivate? For what? Your master has prepared something special for you. From your sleeve, you produced a small wooden box crafted from purple cloud immortal vine. Your foundation is still far too weak. If you wish to break through the limit of the source key realm, you will require a few more medicinal resources. Xianxia curiously accepted the box. Master, what is this? You cleared your throat and began to boast about this grand grade, 9 revolution dragon tiger pill refined from 7-petal sunflower essence, 10,000-year glacial bone marrow, and 81 types of divine materials over 49 days of intense flames, followed by 81 days of gentle nurturing to reach completion. A single breath of its scent was worth 10 years of bitter cultivation, and consuming it would allow her to shatter the extreme realm. You flicked the lid open, and an indescribably rich medicinal fragrance instantly surged out. Xianxia felt her cultivation advance slightly just from the scent, but when she saw the pill's form, she froze. Inside the wooden box was a pure, translucent pill, radiating an overwhelming fragrance. The pill was as large as a hen's egg. Master, Xianxia's beautiful face went blank as she pointed toward her own cherry-red lips. This is simply too large. Can I even swallow this whole? You fell silent for half a second, seriously observing her charming pink lips before glancing back at the egg-sized medicinal pill. It should be possible, you replied, though you weren't entirely certain. Perhaps you should try it first. Ding, congratulations host, you have moved Xianxia's heart, favorability +3. Interaction between host and disciple successful. Shame points from Xianxia +10. Ding, disciple recruitment mission triggered. Help your disciple, Xianxia, break through the origin Qi extreme realm. Completing the mission will grant a large amount of favorability rewards. Great host, keep it up. Strive to make this talented disciple fall for you as soon as possible. You listened to the string of indecent system notifications in your head, once again rendered speechless. At that same moment, within the forbidden grounds of the Nebula Pavilion, terrifying surges of aura shot toward the heavens. These were all supreme elders of the void refining realm. After remaining silent for 1,000 years, they could finally hold their heads high. Ha ha! The Holy Lord has attained the Tao. The golden age of our Nebula Pavilion has arrived. Indeed, not only do we have the Holy Lord, but we also have junior sister Xianxia, who possesses the eternal divine womb talent. It is time for the world to remember the prestige of our Nebula Pavilion once more. One elder, brimming with content, spoke in a cold voice. Setting aside the 8 great holy lands, those first-rate forces under their command have been far too arrogant over the past 1,000 years. Do they truly believe our Nebula Pavilion has no one left? We must pave the way for junior sister Xianxia. Let us start by putting the forces under the Netherworld Holy Land to the sword. We will use their lives as the price to send a message to the entire world. My Xingyun is inviolable. Another elder slammed his fist onto the table, his face flushed with rage as he spat out vulgar curses. That woman from the Jinghai Kingdom dared to claim my strength was insufficient. She infuriates me to no end. The Jinghai Kingdom must also be purged, as well as sect leader Wu Tang, the single blade of the Xuanhuan sect. 300 years ago, he dared to look down upon me and slaughtered a group of our elders. At this moment, where is the transcendent, sage-like bearing they once claimed to possess? Each of them looked like a malevolent deity, spittle flying as they argued like commoners haggling over vegetables in a market. Yet they were casually deciding the fate of countless lives. They had but a single purpose: to kill the chicken and warn the monkeys, to let the entire eastern wasteland know that the overlord of old has returned. From within your bamboo forest, Qi Nianji had completely immersed herself in her cultivation. Dozens of phantasms of primordial beasts hovered around her body, the golden demonic roc, the great-headed Qilin, and swirling heavenly thunder. Each one radiated a murderous aura that pierced the heavens. These were the creatures you captured for her from the Minghan heavenly pool, to be used merely as tools to temper her physical body. With a single punch, golden light flooded the sky, her strength reaching 10,000 caddies. A beast phantasm shattered with a deafening boom, dissolving into a mist of golden essence. Upon her chest, a single drop of golden imperial source essence you had bestowed upon her continuously radiated divine golden runes. As it tempered every inch of her body, you nodded in satisfaction. A reincarnated empress is indeed formidable, you murmured. If she wishes to suppress the geniuses of this generation, then I, as her master, cannot be found wanting. To suppress the eternal ages, that isn't asking too much, is it? With those words, you slowly unfurled the long-held Emperor-grade cultivation manual, the primal origin Tao art created by the ancient lazy emperor. When mastered to its peak, whether one is sleeping or eating, the technique will circulate automatically, absorbing the source energy of heaven and earth, increasing one's power continuously. The more you studied it, the more you realized this lazy emperor was truly a kindred spirit to you. 10 days passed, and you had barely managed to comprehend the first volume of the heavenly scripture within your mind. The system's voice was so ecstatic it nearly cracked. Wonderful. The host has finally taken the initiative to cultivate. I am so deeply moved, Lord Host. When you are serious, your presence is truly magnificent. 1 in 10,000, truly unparalleled under the heavens. Rest assured, host, with this system by your side. In this life you are peerless. Who would dare provoke you? I shall help you suppress all things. You pay no heed to the system's flattery. A storm is approaching, but what of it? As for the disciple of Gu Chongqing, anyone who dares lay a hand on her must be prepared to be reduced to ash. To you, the concept of time seems to have become increasingly inconsequential. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed, and during this month you have not been idle. Several first-rate forces in the eastern wastelands were blind to the truth, and in a single night they were utterly wiped from the map. Energy converged like a surging river. Everyone knew in their hearts who was responsible, but who would dare speak your name aloud? On this very day, your pure Tao flow suddenly erupted with a pillar of golden light that pierced the heavens. In an instant, the entirety of Wendou Peak and the surrounding mountains were enveloped by this domineering aura. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth rushed toward this place frantically, as if reuniting with its progenitor. Heavens, what is happening with this concentration of spiritual chi? Is this a revival of the world's spiritual essence? Wendou Peak, why is it coming from Wendou Peak? The disciples at the foot of the mountain were in an uproar, gazing upward as if beholding a deity. I seem to have seen this golden light before. A senior disciple suddenly slapped his thigh in realization. 500 years ago, when senior brother Lu Xinghe broke through the origin Qi extreme realm, it looked exactly like this. Could someone on Wendou Peak truly be breaking through the origin Qi extreme realm? As soon as these words were spoken, the entire area fell into a deathly silence. It was followed by the sound of collective gasps. Heavens. The origin Qi extreme realm, does it not require a physical strength of 100,000 caddies to break through? In the past 1,000 years of our Xingyun pavilion, only senior brother Lu Xinghe has ever achieved it. Aren't only the Holy Lord and little junior Aunt Nianji on Wendou Peak? It certainly cannot be the Holy Lord. Could it be the little junior aunt who has only been here for a month? She has only been here for a month, yet she is already breaking through the origin Qi extreme realm. The innate sword fetus, it seems it truly possesses such divine potential. The disciples' imaginations ran wild, faster than anyone could keep up with. Every single one of them was so struck with awe that their jaws dropped. Most importantly, this golden phenomenon was several times more powerful than Lu Xinghe's was all those years ago. At the same time, inside the Xingyun Hall, the 7 prodigies of Xingyun were also staring in a daze. It truly is the origin Qi extreme realm. Zui muttered, in just 1 month, junior brother Gu's ability to instruct his disciple is divine talent, is indeed a divine talent, but this speed is something even we could not have matched back then. Yang Ningshou nodded in agreement while Mu Zhu shook his head, a faint smile playing across his face. Naturally, that is junior brother Gu's disciple. With him there, our Xingyun pavilion will see the rise of another monstrous genius to suppress an entire generation. Is that not already a foregone conclusion? Meanwhile, Yu Gu Chang'e stood atop Wendou Peak, gazing at that golden radiance with an expression of utter disbelief. The small figure within that golden light caused even you to lose yourself for a moment. 100,000 jin of strength is the extreme limit, yet this girl, she directly reached 500,000 jin. You couldn't help but let out a low curse. She truly lives up to her status as a reincarnated empress. This is truly exhilarating. You recalled the year you broke the extreme limit of the origin Qi. It seemed you were simply lying in bed, taking a nap. You woke up and achieved the breakthrough, but you were well aware that for others, every time an extreme limit is shattered, it is a blessing from the great Tao. It is the foundation that leads toward the Emperor realm. You possessed absolute confidence that within 1,000 years you would lead this girl to attain the Tao. At that very moment, the system's voice echoed in your mind. The host's disciple, Qin Yanji, has broken the extreme limit of the origin Qi. Entering the Spirit Sea Realm, congratulations to the host for completing Mission 1. Rewards are being issued. Origin Exquisite Pill X1 Sovereign Grade Cultivation Technique, Great Thunder Body. You glanced at the reward descriptions. The Origin Exquisite Pill could open a small internal space to contain Origin Chi. The Great Sun Thunder Body could further temper the physical body to the level of lightning itself. Not bad, these were all high-quality items. Another 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Every day, you spent your time feeding chickens and fish. Occasionally, you would meditate on the absolute beginning Tao source art. Your days passed as suddenly one day the heavenly firmament mountain trembled once more. A pillar of blue light soared into the heavens from Wendou Peak. Once again, heaven and earth resonated in perfect unison. The disciples at the foot of the mountain had grown numb to the sight. It was happening yet again. Little junior uncle, has he truly surpassed the extreme limits of the Spirit Sea realm? Truly, comparing oneself to such a genius is enough to drive one to madness. Holy Lord, are you still accepting disciples? Even a mere floor sweeper would suffice. Stop dreaming, the whole Lord's a man you will never possess. Simply be a follower and watch from a distance. Time flies like a weaver's shuttle. It has been a full year since Xianxia entered your tutelage. The powers that were annihilated in the eastern wasteland have since become a lingering mystery. No one dare speak of it, and the 365 drops of Imperial Source Essence from the time you attained the Tao remain an indelible shadow within the hearts of all. You sit by the frigid pond, lazily casting your fishing line. Splash! A colossal fish, over 100 meters in length, is hauled directly from the depths, sending sprays of water in every direction. Nearby, Xianxia practices her swordplay. Her blade light is radiant, and her aura is as vast and imposing as a mountain, far surpassing what one would expect from a 12-year-old girl. Seeing your catch, she immediately sheaths her sword and leaps into your arms like a purple sprite. Master, you are truly peerless. Throughout this year spent together, you have become the most vital bond in her life, even eclipsing her obsession with vengeance. Vague memories of the Sword Sovereign occasionally flicker within her mind, though she remains uncertain of their origin. You smile and stroke her head. This girl only has eyes for her master's grilled fish, but then again, who can prepare it better than I? She gazes up, her small face lit with a smile so bright her eyes narrow into crescents. At 12 years of age, she is blossoming, her every movement filled with grace and life. She is as ethereal as a beauty stepping out from a divine painting. Faint, youthful fragrance wafts toward you. Strands of hair dampened by the pond water cling to her delicate features. As a droplet of water rolls down, your heart stirs with a subtle ripple. Cough, this disciple of mine is truly pleasing to the eye. Your gaze involuntarily drifts from her hair down to her cherry-red lips, then to her heaving chest, finally coming to rest upon her fair jade-like legs. Perfect. A true peerless beauty of the mortal realm. It is a pity she is still so young. Nonetheless, you cannot help but marvel once more at her innate talent. That Lu Xinghe, who was praised to the very heavens, despite his Tao body constitution, only reached the God transformation realm after 5 years of cultivation. Yet, in just 1 year, Xianxia has already attained the 10th level of the Spirit Sea realm. Furthermore, she has achieved successive breakthroughs in the 2 great extreme realms, the Essence Origin and the Spirit Sea. Even you find yourself feeling a hint of envy towards such innate talent. For the past year, you haven't even focused on your cultivation. Instead, you've spent your days tending to flowers and fishing. You casually guided your disciple as she fused 365 drops of Emperor Source Essence during her ascension. You have already refined 10 drops yourself. At this rate, within a few short years, you will have no equal in the Eastern Wastelands. A 1,000-year-old immortal emperor possessing 365 drops of Emperor Source Essence, accompanied by a monstrously talented disciple who is the reincarnation of an empress. As spring arrives, you ask her to join you in the fields to plant seedlings this morning. You dust off your clothes. Stand up. Xianxia nods obediently. She knows clearly that to seek vengeance, she is still far from surpassing that heartless family and the deeply calculating woman named Lu Ruyan, a debt she must one day settle personally. At the same time, in the Eastern Wastelands at the Netherworld Holy Land, the Starcloud Pavilion was once the leader of the 9 great Holy Lands of the East. Now that it has declined, the Netherworld Holy Land is poised to take its place. Within the Great Hall, the Sect Master, the Netherworld Ancestor, sits with solemn dignity. He carries an air of peerless dominance. Suddenly, a chilling wind sweeps through the hall, and a fair-faced young man with a refined yet feminine aura appears. Your disciple, Wei Shizhong, pays respects to Master. The Netherworld Ancestor looks down at him, a flash of surprise crossing his eyes. Shizhong, you have achieved another breakthrough. Reporting to Master, your disciple has broken through the nascent soul extreme realm and received the blessings of the great Tao. Wei Shizhong slowly stands up, his tone laced with arrogance. The Netherworld Ancestor nods with satisfaction. You possess a Tao physique, and at only 60 years old you have reached the 10th level of the nascent soul realm. Having broken through 4 consecutive extreme realms, your future achievements will be limitless. I thank Master for the praise. Wei Shizhong lets out a cold laugh. Soon after, the Netherworld Ancestor shifts his tone. Have you heard the recent news regarding the Starcloud Pavilion? Your disciple has heard. A year ago, an innate sword fetus appeared at the Starcloud Pavilion, only to be snatched away by an old monster who crawled out of a coffin. Wei Shizhong speaks with utter disdain. You are not wrong, the Netherworld Ancestor replies, gritting his teeth in anger. An old man who has lived for God knows how many tens of thousands of years suddenly stumbling upon such a massive windfall. Then Wei Shizhong lowers his voice and says, "But master, I believe the Nebula Pavilion is fundamentally unworthy of possessing such a prodigy. Even more so, they are unworthy of being ranked among the 9 great holy lands of the Eastern Desolation." Interested, the Nether Ancestor replied, "Speak your mind, tell me your perspective." Reporting to Master, the Nebula Pavilion is currently supported by only a single quasi-emperor. Even if another great emperor were to crawl out from their coffin, their golden era has already passed. For that innate sword embryo to join the Nebula Pavilion is a pure waste of resources. Wei Shizhong's words aligned with the Nether Ancestor's own low opinion. Could a sect that is 90% women truly be worthy of being called a holy land? Those female disciples are each as pure as ice and jade, yet they are forbidden from marrying outside. Is that not a tragic waste of heaven's gifts? Do you know why I have summoned you here today? I do not, Master. However, in half a month, the heart-questioning sword tower of the Nebula Pavilion will open. A sharp light flickered within the Nether Ancestor's eyes. I want you to represent our Nether Holy Land and journey there. Humiliate the disciples of the Nebula Pavilion as much as possible for me. Strip them of all voice, so they may realize what a true chosen talent looks like. Humiliate them as much as possible. A trace of morbid satisfaction appeared on Wei Shizhong's effeminate face. Your disciple understands. As Wei Shizhong bowed and prepared to withdraw, the Nether Ancestor's voice called out from behind him once more. Ah, one more thing. Remember to send men to the Eastern Desolation to find several thousand maidens of top-tier beauty. It is best if they are no older than 16. On the other side, at the Tao-seeking peak, you are lying on a rocking chair, basking in the sun. From the distance, a powerful aura rapidly approached. The newcomer was none other than the chief elder Zhao Xuanzi. A year ago, the surge of auspicious purple chi from your attainment of the Tao had forced him into a year-long seclusion. He has now successfully achieved a breakthrough to the Tao integration realm. Originally, he intended to fly directly to your location. However, upon arrival, he halted and chose to walk up the mountain, knowing the Holy Lord preferred peace and quiet. I should proceed on foot to show my respect, he thought as he approached you. Zhao Xuanzi bowed deeply with profound respect. Zhao Xuanzi pays his respects to the Holy Lord. You slowly opened your eyes, your voice carrying a hint of laziness. What is it? Holy Lord, the heart-questioning sword tower will open in half a month. This old man has come specifically to ask if junior sister Nianji is interested in entering the tower to comprehend the Tao. The heart-questioning sword. You have likely heard of this place before. It is the inheritance ground of the ancestral sword cultivators of the Star Cloud Pavilion, opening only once every 50 years. However, how could this old man possibly know that Nianji has already stepped into the Golden Core realm? If Zhao Xuanzi were to learn of your thoughts, he would likely curse out loud on the spot. Old man, you still have the nerve to speak? Your Tao-seeking peak causes heaven and earth phenomena every day. Do you take us old fogies for fools? You consider it for a moment. Allowing the girl to go out and temper herself might indeed be a good idea. Thus you nod your head, let out a yawn, and wave your hand dismissively. This seat understands, you may withdraw. Half a month later, on the day the heart-asking sword tower opened, the crowds at the mountain gate of the Star Cloud Pavilion were as numerous as ants. Chief Elder Zhao Xuanzi led 108 elders from various peaks to preside over the event. Their presence was imposing as geniuses from all paths gathered outside the gates. Some arrived riding on flying swords, while others sat atop soaring spirit beasts. There were even soul transformation realm experts personally escorting their disciples. Thousands converged in one place, creating an incredibly magnificent and bustling scene. Look quickly. That person is actually walking on thin air. He is a soul transformation realm expert. Someone quickly recognized the newcomer as Lei Dong from the Stone Kingdom of Huangzhou. 100 years ago, he was a fierce figure in the top 100 of the nascent soul rankings. Now he has actually reached the soul transformation realm. Before the words could fully settle, another streak of sharp sword chi descended from above. The young sect master of the Lingyun sword sect from Yunzhou arrived. The 6 swords upon his back were all monarch-grade spiritual tools. The dragon's roar shook the heavens as Yi Liangchen of the Long Family Manor appeared, followed by the young villa master of Shud Villa and the divine maiden of Cloud Ice Mountain. One by one, the geniuses who shook their respective regions revealed themselves. At that moment, a thunderous boom echoed from the horizon. Zhang Ba of the Heavenly Firmament Divine Kingdom, accompanied by the first princess and the 9th princess, arrived to pay their respects to the Star Cloud Pavilion. A colossal warship that blotted out the sky and earth approached. Standing upon the deck were 2 beautiful figures. On the left was the first princess, Zhang Shuir. Only 18 years old and already in the Golden Core realm, she possessed the cold water Tao physique, ranked in the top 3. She was a renowned daughter of genius within the Eastern Wastelands. However, the 9th princess beside her was far more mysterious. Rumor has it that her mother was pregnant for 300 years before giving birth to her. At the moment of her birth, her mother's life force was completely drained. Heaven-sent phenomena occurred, for she was born with the vertical eye and double pupils. He was regarded as an ill omen, a lone star of... To this day, he remains utterly unable to cultivate. Just as the crowd was in the midst of a heated discussion, a burst of frigid, sinister aura descended from the heavens, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet several degrees. A pale young man with a feminine, eerie temperament landed indifferently before the crowd. At the sight of him, the entire field fell into a deathly silence. He is the 5th divine son of the Netherworld Sacred Land, It truly is him, the sect master's personal disciple. A possessor of a Tao body anomaly, why has he come here? Haven't the other sacred lands long disdained visiting our nebula pavilion? Hearing the gasps of awe around him, a smug expression surfaced on Wei Shizhong's face. He came today specifically to cause trouble. The nebula elders noticed him, and their expressions instantly darkened. That old fossil, the netherworld ancestor, what is his intention in sending this brat? While everyone was speculating, a wave of absolute frost suddenly enveloped the entire area. A pure white figure descended from the sky, her face veiled in white silk, surrounded by an ethereal celestial chi. It was Zue. Greetings to Fairy Zue. Inside and outside the mountain gate, the assembled geniuses prostrated themselves simultaneously. A peerless, invincible pressure instantly erupted, forcing everyone present to the point of suffocation. Wei Shizhong, who was still standing, felt as if a divine mountain was crushing his back. His legs buckled, and with a heavy thud he too fell to his knees to pay respects to Fairy Zue. He trembled as he spoke, and only after he had knelt did Zue retract her pressure, her voice as cold as ice. She did not even deign to spare him a glance, leaving behind only a chilling warning. If there is a next time, tell that old netherworld ancestor to come and collect your corpse. As these words were uttered, a divine scent swept across the field. The silence was absolute, and not a soul dared to breathe. The pressure of a Tao integration realm powerhouse was to these juniors no different than the heavens collapsing. Wei Shizhong was drenched in sweat as if he had been fished out of a river, trembling violently as he scrambled to his feet. One could even feel his heart racing erratically, as if half of his soul had already been frightened away. Perhaps he finally understands that the women of the Nebula Pavilion are not the type to listen to reason. They are a group whose strength is simply beyond comprehension, and possessed a fierce, unyielding temperament. You chuckled softly. A fierce temperament was only fitting. Wei Shizhong's petty schemes were as transparent as glass to your eyes. He still hoped to reclaim his lost dignity within the Sword Pavilion, mocking the innocent Star Cloud disciples. Do you dare guarantee that? If he truly dared to do so, these unyielding individuals would surely show him what it feels like to be crushed like an ant. At this moment, the crowd stood up. Zue's cold gaze swept across the assembly as she spoke formally. The heart-questioning Sword Pavilion opens today. The rules are known to all. Those above the Golden Core realm but below the King realm, follow me. With those words, she turned and departed, the hem of her dress fluttering in a cold, indifferent arc. You watched her departing figure, understanding the situation clearly. Among the 7 beauties, only she remained at the Tao integration realm. Thus, these public duties naturally fell upon her shoulders. It was just as well, it spared you from such concerns. We obey. The young geniuses followed behind like a flock of sheep on a pilgrimage. You watched with amusement as they passed the Star Cloud Pavilion's female disciples, whose chattering was like a stream of passing comments. The geniuses of this generation are truly unsightly. Indeed. Look at that one. Even his nose hair is sticking out. How repulsive. Inside the Sword Pavilion, the once violent sea of spiritual energy had long since grown calm, or more accurately, you had drained every last drop of it. Slowly, you opened your eyes and exhaled a breath of turbid air. The aura within your body had clearly reached the half-step nascent soul realm. Half-step nascent soul at 12 years old, if news of this were to spread, the entire eastern wasteland would surely be shaken. In that moment, an ethereal, aged voice echoed within your mind. In a mere half a year, to ascend from the second stage of the Golden Core realm to half-step nascent soul, with a foundation as solid as a rock, and at a bone age of only 12. Little fellow, your talent is truly worthy of the title, #1 throughout the ages. You slowly raised your eyes, your expression terrifyingly calm. Without a hint of arrogance, you replied indifferently, on the path of cultivation, talent is merely the starting point. The foundation is the true root. As for being the greatest of all ages, even in the era of fallen emperors, who would dare claim such a title? The aged voice. But your talent is absolutely peerless within our Nebula Pavilion for the past several 100,000 years. Hearing this, you simply shake your head. There is no such thing as being first or second. My talent may be decent, but compared to that person, I am merely a firefly compared to the moon. The aged voice revealed a sense of profound astonishment. Could there truly be an existence in this world even more monstrous than the monster before me? Could you tell me who that person is? In your memory, the silhouette of one who resembles a banished immortal suddenly appears. It is my master. You murmur softly, a trace of tenderness appearing in your eyes that even you do not notice. A man who is very handsome, very gentle, and also a man who is incredibly powerful. The aged voice falls into a heavy silence once more. To be able to train a heaven-defying monster such as yourself, just what kind of terrifying existence must your master be? He hesitates, but ultimately his obsession with passing down his Sword Tao legacy triumphs over his fear. I am the Heavenly Ice Sword Saint, the great emperor ancestor of the Nebula Pavilion from 10,000 years ago. My Sword Tao legacy is unique throughout the ages. Little fellow, are you willing to inherit my Sword Tao legacy? Inherit your legacy. You look up slightly, your expression calm. This mere great emperor inheritance is perhaps better than nothing at all? I suppose I can give it a try. The aged voice falls completely silent in disbelief. Mere great emperor, give it a try. Young lady, are those words even human? Do you hear yourself? But he is already committed to this path. He can only persevere and continue to maintain his dignified front. Very well. Then I ask you, what is the Sword Tao? You smile. The corners of your mouth curl into a smile of utter disdain for the world. The great Tao of the sword should take lightning as its tip, the wind and clouds as its edge, and heaven and earth as the sword's body, cleaving the nine nethers below and reaching the high firmament above. Once this sword is drawn, heaven and earth are rent asunder, and all things are crushed. The pinnacle of the sword Tao is to possess heaven-shaking power that can move the stars and shift the constellations. A sword that shrouds the firmament, a single strike that dominates throughout all eternity. The moment those words are spoken, the entirety of the 108th floor trembles violently, as if about to be torn apart by the weight of your words. An ethereal figure above in sheer terror, his voice trembling. Your words manifest as law. Little monster, what in the world is your true origin? He is left utterly stunned. Truly, with such an understanding, do you even require my guidance? Great auntie, why don't you teach me instead, so I may inherit your legacy? Seeing the phantom's expression as if it had seen a ghost, you found it nothing short of amusing. You are the reincarnation of the Sword Emperor. To ask you about the Tao of the Sword is like showing off slight skills before a grandmaster. Yet he was an old monster who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years after all. Steadying his mind, he coughed a few times and spoke in a deep voice. Well said. Your understanding of the Sword Tao is worthy of inheriting my legacy. With a wave of his hand, the entire space transformed into a vast sea of sword intent, with countless flying swords circling amidst 10,000 feet of divine radiance. Today I shall bestow this heavenly ice sword intent upon you. As the phantom spoke, the sky-filling sword intent surged toward you. However, the process of refining this sword intent was simpler for you than drinking water. Born with the innate sword embryo and being the reincarnation of the Sword Emperor, your imperial soul was gradually awakening. Such great emperor sword intent could be mastered in a single glance. How can it be this fast? The phantom stared in disbelief as you absorbed his legacy at the speed of light. He stood frozen in shock as his sword intent was refined. His figure grew increasingly faint. In the final moment before dissipating, a frantic thought crossed his mind. If she is a reincarnated powerhouse and I attach myself to her, might I not one day reconstruct my physical body and return to life? With that thought, he hesitated no longer, transforming into a streak of light and instantly vanishing into your body. Half a month later, amidst a heavy snowfall, a 10,000-foot phantom of an ice sword cleaved down from the heavens. The entire Xingyun pavilion was transformed into a world of ice and snow. Outside the sword pavilion, the elders looked up in utter shock. It is the heavenly ice sword intent. Junior sister Nianji Gu Changqing, he truly succeeded. Before their words could even settle, a massive explosion thundered. The Yunshin Sword Pavilion, towering high amidst the clouds, suddenly shattered with terrifying force. The lightning clouds that had just dispersed returned with even greater fury, surging back toward the Xingyun Pavilion. This time the target was aimed directly at you atop the pavilion, where you lay quietly upon a humble earthen mound. Witnessing the earth-shaking commotion above the Xingyun Pavilion, a flicker of surprise flashed in your eyes. Is another world-shaking event about to occur so soon? Even you did not expect that little girl Qin Nianji could cause such a massive disturbance. Although you remained within the forbidden zone, your divine sense had long ago pierced through the sword pavilion, witnessing everything. You knew, of course, that all of this was the masterpiece of your precious disciple. Host, your nominal disciple's imperial soul has likely awakened by 80%. At that moment, the system's voice echoed in your mind. You were slightly stunned. The imperial soul had awakened. You recall the system once mentioned that a reincarnated empress seals her own empress soul, retaining all the innate talent and sword Tao inheritance of her previous life. After reincarnation, her cultivation would recover with the speed of a rising meteor. If her previous life's talent was merely an innate sword embryo, then what exactly is your disciple's sword Tao inheritance? It seems Qin Nianji's empress soul has truly begun to awaken. You give a wry smile. Your disciple is truly extraordinary. Why does she carry the aura of a novel's female protagonist? But calculating the days, it is time for the girl to emerge. At that same moment, on the 108th floor of the sword pavilion, a pair of exquisite eyes slowly opened. It was a petite and delicate figure, with a face of peerless beauty and light robes that outlined a figure as flawless as jade. Her gaze was cold and aloof, carrying not a hint of mortal attachment. The aura radiating from her body revealed that she had already become a nascent soul powerhouse. Beyond this nascent soul aura, those 1,000,000 spirit veins were also slowly withdrawing into her dantian. Two distinct sword intents manifested beside her. One was Frigid, the heavenly ice sword intent. The other belonged to her previous life, the Empress's Tao intent and Emperor Realm Tao intent. Not only did she break through the Golden Core Extreme Realm while opening her spirit veins, but she also effortlessly regained her previous life's Emperor-grade sword Tao. Possessing two types of Tao intent, one being of the Emperor Realm, just what kind of monstrous talent is this? In a year and a half, she surged from Foundation Establishment to Nascent Soul, crossing 4 major realms, breaking through the Extreme Realm 3 times and opening 1,000,000 spirit veins. In this life, she has come to sweep across the world. Qin Yanji's gaze was cold as she murmured to herself, I did not expect my previous life's Tao intent to awaken so soon. A moment later, the doors of the sword pavilion rumbled open. A wave of frigid aura surged out as the figure of a peerless young girl appeared before everyone. All the elders, who had been waiting for a long time, were instantly struck with awe. She had broken through once again. The group of Xingyun elders were so excited their faces flushed red as they hurriedly gathered around her. Junior sister Nianji, have you truly reached the 108th floor? A beautiful female elder could not help but ask, her voice trembling. Although over the past year and a half, this 12-year-old girl had repeatedly shattered their perception of reality, they still found it hard to believe. After all, this was the heart-questioning Sword Pavilion. Throughout the eternity of the Xuanhuan Pavilion, those who reached the 30th floor would eventually become titans of their generation. Even the Supreme Pavilion Master, with talent unparalleled throughout the ages, it usually takes 10,000 years to step into the Emperor realm. Yet, even for such a formidable figure, they were only able to reach the 60th floor back then. Furthermore, they did so while possessing a half-step soul transformation cultivation. And then there is you. Qin Nianji entered at the Golden Core stage and ascended as if riding a soaring rocket, piercing straight through the tower's summit. Now, upon exiting, she has already broken through to the nascent soul stage. With such talent, even if I were on that same rocket, I could never hope to catch up to you. Qin Nianji bowed respectfully to the gathered elders and calmly replied, "Honored elders, this disciple has indeed reached the peak of the tower." Upon hearing this confirmation, the elders gasped in unison, their hearts skipping a collective beat. The female elder of Heavencloud Peak asked urgently, "Then what of the Sword Dao inheritance of ancestor Tian Bing? Have you comprehended it? That is the legacy of a great emperor. If you possess it, your future cultivation will be as effortless as breathing. The Sword Dao inheritance of ancestor Tian Bing is indeed formidable." As those words left her lips, Qin Yanji extended her slender fair hand. A bone-chilling wave of frost erupted instantly, and the phantom of an ice spirit longsword manifested within her grasp. At this sight, the elders' eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets, and their chests felt as though they had been struck by a heavy sledgehammer. The Heaven Ice Sword intent. This is truly the Heaven Ice Sword intent. Young Pavilion Master, how on earth did you accomplish this? That is the Dao intent of a great emperor. The elders of the Xingyun Pavilion were driven to the brink of madness. They felt as though their entire worldview was being trampled upon repeatedly this day. Even Ziwei, who had been observing in silence, was so shaken that she was left speechless. Her chest heaved violently with every breath. Not just her, but even the 7 prodigies of Xingyun, and even the late Supreme Pavilion Master Xianyan. Without exception, every one of them had yearned for this sword intent. And yet, what was the result? They had all met with failure. Let alone the Dao intent, they had never even laid eyes upon the view from the tower's summit. Yet, the 12-year-old Qin Nianji had not only reached it, but had also effortlessly claimed this great emperor's sword intent for herself. Is it possible this girl is truly cheating the heavens? They were beginning to harbor serious doubts. Qin Nianji's talent is perhaps not even inferior to yours, Gu Chengge. After all, you were a monster who spent 1,000 years in indolence before directly ascending to the Emperor realm. Just what kind of otherworldly beings are this master and disciple? Has the ancestor of our Xingyun Pavilion manifested his divine presence? Then what of the phenomenon that occurred during the meridian opening just now? Indeed, the spiritual energy of the entire Immortal Palace was drained dry moments ago. Was that your doing as well? You were merely opening your spirit meridians, yet it felt as if the world itself was being forged anew. Was it truly you? A group of elders asked in quick succession, their voices trembling with profound shock. It likely was. Qin Yanji nodded slightly, her expression as calm as a placid lake. She had not expected that a mere meridian opening would throw the entire Xingyun Pavilion into such chaos, nor that she would open 1 million meridians. One must realize that 2,000 spirit meridians is already considered the absolute limit, the peak of the cultivation world. Yet she had exceeded that by 500 times. This was likely a side effect of awakening her emperor soul. Heavens, have I truly become this defiant of the natural order? Once again, everyone present gasped in shock, their minds completely numb to the absurdity. A holy lord attaining the Tao in 1,000 years, and a 12-year-old disciple reaching the nascent soul stage with 1 million meridians. Do you two intend to pierce the very heavens? Sister, her aura is terrifying. It feels even more powerful than that of Holy Lord Ziwei. Zhang Tianta hid behind Ziwei's back and whispered in a low voice. Xuanhuan looked down at her younger sister, her eyes filled with profound shock. This is the Holy Lord's disciple, Qin Nianji, possessor of the innate sword fetus, conqueror of the heaven-reaching tower, and opener of 1 million meridians. She is a true monster among geniuses. I do not know. Zhang Tiantian shook her head, sensing only that a terrifying aura resided within this young woman's eyes. It was cold and sharp, yet it felt as though she were looking down upon all living beings from a great height. Ziwei was stood upon hearing this, taking a deep breath to steady her soul. She looked at Qin Nianji and spoke each word with deliberate weight. Possessing the innate sword fetus, reaching the nascent soul stage in a mere year and a half, ascending to the peak of the sword tower and refining the heavenly ice sword intent, and opening 1 million spirit meridians. Nianji's, your talent is unparalleled across the ages. You stand alone at the peak. At that moment, Qin Nianji withdrew her sword intent. She shook her head, her face showing not a single trace of excitement. Instead, she spoke in a flat, indifferent tone. Your disciple was merely fortunate. It took a great deal of effort to finally refine this sword intent. Were it not for the innate sword fetus, I might not have succeeded even with another half year of bitter cultivation. As for the 1 million spirit meridians, that was simply an unexpected surprise. Soon as these words were uttered, everyone present felt the urge to cough up blood in sheer frustration. Master and disciple are truly cut from the same cloth. Do you both take pride in being this infuriatingly humble? The chief elder suppressed his excitement and stepped forward. Junior sister Xianxia has now not only stepped into the nascent soul realm, but has also attained the heavenly ice sword intent. At the great prodigy assembly 100 years from now, she will undoubtedly crush all the geniuses of the Eastern Desolation. Xianxia frowned. At the mention of this matter, the chief elder let out a long sigh. Since the previous pavilion master fell years ago, our Nebula Pavilion has endured much suppression, and our younger generation lags far behind the other sacred lands. Now that you and the Holy Lord have emerged, our Nebula Pavilion will surely return to its peak. Xianxia nodded, asking nothing further. This so-called Great Prodigy Assembly? She simply did not care for it. After awakening her emperor soul, her sole objective was to once again prove her Tao and become a great emperor. However, in this lifetime, her heart held a different bond. At that moment, an ancient yet domineering voice suddenly rang out. Impressive, what a heaven-defying girl. Since when did our Nebula Pavilion possess such a daughter of the heavenly Tao? Little girl, are you willing to take me as your master? Everyone turned to look. The speaker was none other than the Nine-Nether Ancestor, who had just crawled out of his coffin. Great Ancestor, I fear this is inappropriate. The chief elder spoke with an awkward expression. This old monster had been in secluded cultivation for 10,000 years. Who would have thought he would suddenly desire a disciple? Unfortunately, she had already taken someone you cannot afford to provoke as her master. What is inappropriate about it? The Nine-Nether Ancestor flicked his sleeve, his aura overwhelming. I am the renowned Nine-Nether Ancestor at the peak of the Tao integration realm. Am I truly not qualified to be her master? Senior uncle she is, Ziwei was about to explain when suddenly, a voice laced with mockery and disdain drifted down from the heavens. It is not for me to say, there is no content to translate. Little old man, you truly are not worthy. The Nine-Nether Ancestor suddenly looked up to dare say he was unworthy. They must be tired of living. However, the moment he raised his head, boom, the laws of heaven and earth suddenly began to fluctuate violently. The spiritual energy, which had been completely drained, began to frantically. Immediately after, a brilliant golden light manifested from the void, tearing open a rift in space. It was as if the great Tao itself was making way for you. In the next instant, a near-perfect figure appeared before the eyes of the crowd. Your appearance, clad in robes of white that surpassed the purity of snow, was untainted by even a single speck of dust as you slowly stepped forward. With every step, lotuses bloomed beneath your feet, sending out ripples of golden light. That face captivated all living beings, leaving countless female disciples instantly starstruck, their cheeks flushed and their breath stolen away. Heavens! It is the Holy Lord, I am truly lost. How can the Holy Lord be so breathtakingly handsome? Holy Lord, look at me. I wish to spend the rest of my life by your side. Several female disciples were so overcome with emotion that their legs grew weak and they fled in frantic excitement. Old Ancestor Jiu's aged face instantly froze, his pupils trembling and his mouth agape in utter shock. Golden Emperor Light, are you truly an immortal great emperor? He was stunned. Since when did the Xingyun Pavilion gain another great emperor? Had he spent so long in his coffin that he had missed the changing of the eras? The female disciples looked at him as if he were a mere bumpkin from the mountains who had never seen the world. Has this old man lost his connection to the world during his time in the coffin? To not even know of the Holy Lord's ascension to the Tao, you simply paid him no heed. He walked straight toward Xianxia. With every step you took, the golden cores of everyone present trembled violently. The elder's eyes widened in disbelief. From your seemingly casual footsteps, they witnessed the reversal of the galaxy and the resonance of the great Tao. This is the very intent of the great Tao. To manifest Tao intent merely by walking? Could it be that the Holy Lord cultivates the Tao of the steppe? One elder hurried to old Ancestor Juyu's side. Lowering his voice, he whispered, Great Ancestor, this is the Holy Lord of our Xingyun Pavilion. Lower your pride and do not act arrogantly based on your seniority. Holy Lord? Old Ancestor Juyu gave a cold snort, nearly choking on his own indignation. I have lain in my coffin for 10,000 years and lived for 50,000. Why should I address a wet behind-the-ears brat as Holy Lord? It was laughable. He straightened his back, maintaining an air of superiority as he raised an eyebrow at you. Boy, it seems you are also a disciple of our Nebula Pavilion. This girl is truly your disciple, yet you still refuse to look at the old man, treating him as if he were thin air. Your gaze falls gently upon Xianxia. You smile, your voice devoid of any reproach. Little girl, you have finally decided to emerge from seclusion. Your master told you to train at the Heart-Inquiring Sword Tower, not to take up permanent residence there. Seeing her master again, Xianxia's cold expression instantly flushed a deep crimson. Even though the awakening of the Empress's soul had made her arrogant and indifferent, when standing before me she immediately reverts to a shy, blushing young girl. At this very moment the system's voice rings out in your mind. Ding! Detected the pupils of annihilation and the innate dual pupils. This is the talent of a great emperor. She can be taken as a disciple. You raise an eyebrow? What exactly are the pupils of annihilation and the innate dual pupils? The system immediately explains, its tone carrying a hint of sycophancy. Respected host, this is no mere trash. These are the pupils of annihilation, an invincible talent that even a great emperor would covet. Born under a lone baleful star, destined to be condemned by the heavens, causing devastation to all living beings within 10,000 miles. The mother is fated to perish, leaving her to a life of absolute solitude, scorned by all creation and unable to practice any cultivation techniques. Yet, it is accompanied by the dual pupils, two pupils in one eye, the mark of a natural-born supreme being. Once the dual pupils open, they can see through heaven and earth. Upon reaching maturity, slaying emperors and annihilating immortals will be effortless. This great emperor-level talent is the genuine article. By the heavens, you curse silently in your heart. With such heaven-defying talent, where is this person? You ask directly and the system responds, respected host, she is right beside your senior sister. Beside your senior sister? Your gaze shifts towards Zue. Sure enough, two young girls are standing beside her. One of them has a petite frame, dressed in robes whiter than snow with facial features of exquisite perfection. Yet her eyes are vacant and there isn't a single ripple of spiritual energy within her. She is like a magnificent porcelain doll. It is her. You step towards Ziwei and bow slightly, maintaining the proper etiquette of a junior. Greetings, senior sister, you little rascal, you truly are something else. Ziwei shook her head helplessly, a rare ripple of emotion appearing in her cold, indifferent eyes. Every time you appear, you manage to cause quite a stir. You smiled, your gaze falling directly upon Zhang Tiantian, who stood behind her. Are both of these girls your disciples, senior sister? Ziwei nodded. Ziwei nodded and replied, this is Shui Zhao, whom I took under my wing 6 months ago. And this is the 9th princess of the heavenly firmament divine kingdom, Jiang Tiantian. The sisters were clearly stunned by this sudden attention and hurriedly bowed in respect. Greetings, Holy Lord. Being as intelligent as she was, Zue immediately sensed that something was unusual. Frowning slightly, she asked, Junior brother, are you interested in Tiantian? You made no effort to hide it, replying, as expected, senior sister knows me best. You leaned close to her ear and lowered your voice, speaking so only she could hear. Senior sister, hand her over to me. In exchange, I shall condense several strands of great Emperor Dao intent for you to contemplate later. Ziwei was startled into a laugh and gave you a reproachful, pouting look. A faint blush crept onto her cold, elegant cheeks. Having not seen you for a year, you've already learned how to bargain with your senior sister. Believe it or not, I could call the other sisters to bind you and take you back to Dao-seeking Peak to keep you all for ourselves. You smirked. Do you think I fear you? Even if all 8 of you come at once, it wouldn't be difficult for me to handle. Zue was utterly speechless. Indeed, he was a great emperor. 8 quasi-emperors combined truly weren't enough to challenge him. Fine, she is yours. She let out a soft huff, both embarrassed and annoyed. Excellent. My thanks, senior sister. Having achieved your goal, your mood was sublime. Then Zue spoke to Jiang Tiantian. Your constitution is unique. Perhaps my junior brother has a way to resolve it. Are you willing to follow him to Dao-seeking Peak? Jiang Tiantian was stunned, her gaze turning toward her older sister, Jiang Xuanhuan, as if seeking guidance. Jiang Xuanhuan trembled with excitement, unable to contain her emotions any longer. Thud. She dropped to her knees before you. Prostrating herself, she said, Thank you, Holy Lord. If the Holy Lord can truly resolve Tiantian's affliction, I, Xuanhuan, will serve. Having received her sister's affirmation, Jiang Tiantian's face flushed crimson, and she responded in a voice as soft as a whisper, This disciple is willing to go. You nodded in satisfaction, wasting no more words. Taking one by each hand, you bid farewell to Zue. With a girl in each hand, you turned and headed toward Wendou Peak. This sight left everyone present in utter shock. Even the cold, aloof fairy Zue was actually blushing. Furthermore, why does the Holy Lord only ever recruit such beautiful female disciples? Meanwhile, the Jew, you old ancestor, who had been ignored by you this entire time, was no longer consumed by rage, but stared blankly at your retreating figure, murmuring to himself, Oh my, why does he look more handsome the longer I stare? This old man's heart, which has remained tranquil for 10,000 years? Cough, cough. Upon returning to the familiar Wendou Peak, the rich aroma of chicken soup wafted toward you. It smells divine. Jiang Tiantian's appetite was instantly piqued, and she was nearly salivating. However, Qin Yanji was not pleased. She brushed your hand aside and stormed into the Dao hut, like a small kitten trying to catch someone in the act of betrayal. Master, what delicious dish are you hiding from me this time? You wore a look of utter confusion. This girl has been in secluded cultivation for half a year, yet it seems her temper has grown quite a bit. Pushing the door open, you found a pot of chicken soup that had been simmered to perfection. At this sight, Qin Yanji's cheeks instantly flushed red. It turned out that her master had prepared this specifically for her. Paying no mind to her inner thoughts, you began to carefully examine Jiang Tiantian's constitution. Indeed, just as the system had described, there wasn't a trace of spiritual qi within her. She possessed neither a spiritual root nor a special constitution. It was incredibly bizarre. Jiang Tiantian was so nervous she was on the verge of tears. With a trembling voice, she asked, Holy Lord Senior, can I truly be saved? Looking into her eyes, which were filled with both fear and longing, your heart stirred. You nodded, a reassuring smile playing upon your lips. Be at ease. You are not some ominous star of solitude. Your skeletal structure and meridians are simply unique. With my treatment and guidance, this is but a trivial matter. Treatment, Jiang Tiantian's face grew even redder. Now that Master has a new disciple, you've completely forgotten about me. Qin Yanji stood to the side, her cheeks puffed out in jealousy. Not at all, you laughed, patting her head. Are you both hungry? A standard meal of 4 dishes and 1 soup, accompanied by several crisp, succulent cucumbers. With just a single bite, Jiang Tiantian was completely captivated, her eyes sparkling with intoxication and delight. Following the meal, Qin Yanji poured you a cup of peach blossom wine and took the initiative to speak. Master, please accept junior sister Tiantian into our sect as well. so that I may finally have a junior sister. You teased her in response. Oh, are you not afraid of your master taking a new disciple? Do you not fear she might compete with you for my favor? That will not happen. Qin Nianji pouted slightly. Master, if you dare to neglect me, do you know what I will do? I will bite you. I'll bite your fingers. You let out a laugh, shaking your head as you leapt down from the peach tree. Approaching Zhang Tiantian, your expression turned solemn. If you wish to cultivate, you have but two choices. First, take Nianji as your master and become my grand disciple. I may then grant you guidance on occasion as an exception. Second, you look directly into her eyes, your voice carrying an irresistible magnetic power. Enter my personal tutelage and become the second legacy disciple of Gu Changqing. If you choose this, I shall guide you for the rest of your life. Now, tell me your choice. Jiang Tiantian was dazed. Your silhouette grew infinitely larger in her eyes. That perfect face and those words, at once gentle yet domineering, left her unable to think. Her small face flushed crimson. As if summoning every ounce of her strength, she shouted toward the heavens, I choose the second option. I wish to become the Holy Lord's disciple. Her clear voice echoed across the mountain peak, and you nodded with satisfaction. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully recruiting a second disciple. Rewarding the host with a disciple recruitment gift pack. Daily check-in rewards have been doubled. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving a Saint-grade cultivation technique. 9 nether prison suppressing finger. Congratulations to the host for receiving a spirit beast egg. Instantly, a massive surge of memories flooded into your sea of consciousness. The 9 nether prison suppressing finger. With 1 finger, define heaven and earth. With 3, shatter the mountains and rivers. The 5 fingers of heaven and earth. Its power was truly formidable. You praised it inwardly before pulling your thoughts back to reality. Reaching out, you gently helped Jiang Tiantian up. Silly girl. Your voice became exceptionally tender. Since you have entered my Wendou Feng, you shall never be alone again. From now on, you have an elder sister, you have senior sister Nianji, and you have your master. We are all your family. These words instantly broke down all of Jiang Tiantian's defenses. Unable to restrain herself any longer, she threw herself into your arms and wept aloud. Master, why are you so kind to me? I am clearly a bringer of misfortune. I drained my mother's life force and brought down the wrath of heaven. Everyone is afraid of me. You gently stroke her head, letting her tears soak into your robes. Silly girl, you are no bringer of misfortune, you say, your voice firm and warm. You are my disciple. If your master does not cherish you, then who will? Jiang Tiantian's sobbing gradually subsides in your arms, and for the first time in over a decade, a genuine smile graces her face, a smile from the depths of her heart. At that same moment, in the distant central heaven god domain, atop a mountain peak shrouded in immortal mist, a white-haired elder with a sage-like demeanor suddenly opens his eyes. How strange, centuries ago, my divinations revealed the heavy pupils of the Eastern Desolation. There is a karmic bond of master and disciple between us. Why has it suddenly moved toward the brink of severing? Could it be that someone has beaten me to it? The elder calculates with his fingers, his expression shifting slightly. Very well, I shall perform another divination to see exactly where you are hiding. 7 days later at Wendou Peak, you are lying lazily on a rocking chair, watching Qin Nianji practice her sword forms under the peach tree. Since awakening her emperor soul, her sword intent has become increasingly terrifying. Beside you, Jiang Tiantian asks with eyes full of envy, Master, when will I be able to cultivate like senior sister? You shake your head and reply, there is no rush. Your path is different from all others. Just as the words leave your mouth, Jiang Tiantian's entire body suddenly trembles. Her eyes snap open, but they are no longer clear and innocent. Instead, they have become a pair of demonic pupils reflecting a scene of absolute purgatory. Within her gaze, countless skeletons are piled high like mountains. Energy converges into rivers, and a colossal figure stands atop that mountain of corpses, dwarfing the heavens. The figure exudes an aura of disdain for the world, like an invincible god of war born solely for conquest. As you hold Jiang Tiantian, the girl suddenly shudders violently in your arms and jolts awake. Before you can even ask what nightmare she encountered, an aura that startles even your own soul erupts forth. With a thunderous boom, a beam of crimson gold light shoots straight into the heavens, causing the entire Xingyun pavilion to shake violently. Immediately after, a massive vertical eye opens within the vault of the sky. Most bizarre of all, within that giant eye is the double pupil anomaly of the heavy pupils. Just as this realization flashes through your mind, a group of Xingyun elders burst through the roofs of. Like men seeing ghosts, they look to the heavens, shouting in a frantic frenzy, hoping to vent their overwhelming shock and terror. Double pupils in a single eye, what manner of monstrosity is this? Since the Holy Lord arrived, we have not known a single day of peace. A vertical eye manifested in the heavens, unleashing a torrent of endless golden light. Visions of purgatory and spectral war chariots enveloped the entire nebula pavilion. That pure, murderous intent born solely for conquest struck terror into the hearts of all. Elsewhere, Ziwei and Zhang Shenu also witnessed this world-shaking phenomenon. Zhixuanzu's voice trembled with fear. It is the calamity vision, the same one that haunts Tiantian. My master was right, yet this legendary Holy Lord has only spent a few days to resolve a crisis that our Sky Imperial family could not overcome, even with the full might of our empire. Just who is he truly? Ignoring the chaos erupting outside, you question the system within your mind. What is happening? The hosts need not worry. The system replied, its voice tinged with a hint of amusement. Your second bargain disciple's Tao intent has finally awakened. You narrowed your eyes, staring down at Jiang Tiantian as she gasped for breath in your arms. Her Dao intent? What exactly is it? The system let out a soft chuckle. Great host, have you never heard the saying? Double pupils are the path to invincibility. Why would one ever need to borrow another's bone? You repeated the words in your mind, and the realization struck you instantly. The double pupils are her Dao. She was born invincible. She has no need for the legacy of another. The host is indeed wise. The system confirms she possesses the nirvanic demon pupils born for conquest, and the double pupils destined for invincibility. Hearing this, your heart surged like a tempestuous sea. Your first disciple is a reincarnated empress, possessing the heavenly sword fetus, seeking to prove her Dao and attain immortality. And now this second disciple with both the nirvanic demon pupils and the double pupils born for conquest and absolute supremacy. You suddenly felt that the pressure of being a master to these two monsters was anything but light. Finally, Jiang Tiantian recovered from the shock that had rattled her very soul. Feeling the overbearing and peerless killing intent coursing through her veins, her eyes, once clouded with confusion, became remarkably resolute. She grit her teeth, making a silent vow. Master sister, to protect you all, I must master the legacy of these double pupils. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. The purple bamboo grove was now tinged with the golden hues of autumn. You reclined in your rocking chair, letting out a long, lazy stretch. Midday had already arrived. It was time for the afternoon meal. What delicious delicacies were being prepared today? You stood up with a long yawn and pushed open the door to the kitchen, where a petite figure was busily at work. 2 years had passed, and Xianxia had grown into a peerless beauty. Hearing your approach, she turned and offered a smile, one brilliant enough to melt the coldest frost. Master, you are finally awake. The meal will be ready soon. As you watched her, your heart filled with a sense of admiration. This girl had been under your tutelage for 2 years, and her cultivation had soared like a rising phoenix. She had already reached the 5th stage of the nascent soul realm. The awakening of an emperor's soul was truly monstrous. Stepping forward with a smile, you moved to embrace her from behind, teasingly asking, "Why have you suddenly become so domestic? In the past, you were always the one freeloading off my meals." Xianxia's face flushed crimson as she placed her pale, delicate hand against your chest, gently pushing you away. "Please, master, you should just rest. From now on, it is your disciple's turn to serve you." Her tone carried a gentle insistence that left no room for refusal. Shaking your head helplessly, you decided to let her have her way. Then, where is your junior sister? Is she still in deep meditation? Yes, master. Xianxia sighed softly. I am not sure when she will finally finish. As you left the room, your intuition suddenly flared. A faint, extremely subtle soul fluctuation emanated from within the kitchen. How interesting. The corner of your mouth curled into a smirk as you silently extended your divine sense, curious to see what your precious disciple was actually up to. At that moment, an ancient, seductive voice echoed within Xianxia's consciousness. Little girl, do you desire to become stronger? Come to me. Your eyebrows shot up in surprise. Xianxia's reaction was entirely beyond your expectations. The gentle smile on her face vanished instantly, replaced by an expression you had never seen before. It was an aura of coldness and profound loneliness, as if it hailed from the eternal past. Stop your petty tricks and get out of my body. She spoke with icy disdain, leaving the ancient voice visibly startled and terrified. You are aware of my presence? Xianxia let out a cold, contemptuous snort. A mere fragment of a weak emperor's soul, do you truly believe you can hide from my sight while residing within this empress's body? This empress, hearing her address herself in such a manner caused your heart to skip a beat. That phantom manifested. It was the remnant soul of the heavenly ice sword saint. Overwhelmed with shock, he asked, You discovered me long ago, so why didn't you expose me? Expose you? Xianxia turned around, her eyes filled with pure mockery. Do you truly believe yourself worthy? A derisive smile curled at the corners of her lips. Never mind devouring my soul essence. Even if this empress placed her imperial soul right before you, would you even dare to touch it? With but a single touch, you would be reduced to nothing but ash. Utterly suppressed, the heavenly ice sword saint stammered. Are you truly a reincarnated great emperor? I am not. Xianxia shook her head, her tone indifferent. I am merely his disciple, a disciple of the Nebula Pavilion. Hearing these words, your heart felt a flicker of warmth. The heavenly ice sword saint clearly misunderstood. He believed the one she spoke of was you, and he marveled for a moment at your peerless talent. Soon after, his tone shifted to one of mockery. Even a mighty being like you is ensnared by the shackles of love? What does that have to do with you? Xianxia flared with sudden rage, her chilling killing intent causing even your divine sense to tremble. If you dare utter another word, this empress will ensure your soul is utterly scattered. The heavenly ice sword saint fell silent instantly. However, in the next breath, Xianxia offered him an irresistible temptation. However, this empress can grant you a chance at rebirth. What? The heavenly ice sword saint's voice warped with overwhelming emotion. Rebirth indeed. Xianxia's tone was calm, yet it carried an unquestionable authority. Become my sword slave and pledge eternal loyalty. Once I regain my imperial realm, I shall resurrect you with a mere flick of my wrist. Even you found yourself moved by such a profound offer. As expected, the heavenly ice sword saint did not hesitate. He prostrated himself and swore an oath upon the heavenly Tao to serve as a slave for eternity, never to betray her. You couldn't help but marvel. Your eldest disciple had quietly managed to subjugate a great emperor-level sword slave. This maneuver was truly masterful. Yet what followed was even more extraordinary. With a look of misery, the heavenly ice sword saint lamented that he could not remain a wandering soul forever. With a casual wave of her hand, Xianxia summoned the skeletal remains of a beast, a black and white hound that bore a striking resemblance to a foolish mutt. These are the remains of a heaven-devouring wolf demon. It was at the nascent soul stage before I dealt with it last month. This will serve as your temporary vessel. The once invincible legend of the eastern wastelands, the heavenly ice sword saint, was now forced to inhabit the body of a dog. Sure enough, the sword saint broke down in tears. Xianxia glared. The devouring heaven spirit was a primordial fierce beast after all. Could he really have mistreated it? The heavenly ice sword saint was instantly silenced, forced to accept reality with a sense of grievance as you withdrew your divine sense. Your heart felt a complex mix of amusement and irony. Your disciple, each one was more powerful than the last, making your days truly effortless. You let out a deep sigh, yet a sense of emptiness lingered within. It felt as though something was constantly missing. System, congratulations, host. Today's check-in was successful. Rewards have been doubled. 2 tricolored spirit pupil flowers. You spoke to the system with a lazy tone. System? Is it always going to be these herbs and flowers? Will there never be a spirit beast? The system issued a reminder. Host, did I not reward you with a spirit beast egg last time? Have you already forgotten? Oh, a spirit beast egg? You slapped your thigh in realization and retrieved it from the system's spatial storage. This egg had been sitting for half a year without the slightest sign of life. Great host, this egg requires incubation. If you simply leave it in a corner, it will not hatch even after 10,000 years. Incubation? Your eyes lit up, imagining a mother hen brooding over her eggs. Exactly. This should be simple. Grabbing the egg, you headed straight for the chicken coop in the back garden. Inside the coop were hundreds of hens. Seeing you was like seeing the king of hell himself. They squawked in absolute terror. You cleared your throat, raised the spirit beast egg high, and declared to them, "Listen well. Whichever of you manages to hatch this egg, I shall build her a magnificent private coop of her own. Furthermore, I will provide 100 roosters to serve her every whim." 100 roosters? The entire coop instantly erupted in a frenzy. The hens, who were paralyzed with fear moments ago, now had eyes glowing with ambition to become the empress of their kind. For the sake of a harem of 3,000, they charged madly toward the egg in your hand. You tossed the egg casually and watched as they descended into a brawl, all for the right to incubate it. You could not help but burst into laughter. It seems that whether one is a mortal, a god, or even a chicken, the thirst for power and a grand harem remains the same. Right at that moment, Xianxia's clear voice drifted over from the kitchen. "Master's meal's prepared. Please come and eat." "Very well," you replied, turning to walk back toward the Taoist hut. As you made your way back, a profound smile played across your lips. You wondered what a meal prepared by an Empress-level disciple would actually